everybody's coming in.
Welcome to Poets for Kamala, We're Not Going Back Poetry Fundraiser. I'm Amanda Hendricks. We're so thankful that you're here with us tonight. We hope that you will connect with the poems being read and know that you fit here. Be inspired, challenged, and know that you are not alone during this wonderful time of words during the reading. You will have the opportunity to give what you feel led through our secure ActBlue link, which will be in the chat, or through our website at www.poetsforkamala.org. As for the start of the Zoom, we've already raised over $300, which is a solid start, and everything helps. I am excited to introduce you to our special guest reader, but first, I have a question for you. Have you ever been almost 9 months pregnant in a bathtub, eating a big bowl of ice cream, writing a poem in your head after an election? Maybe that is where this all started for me, poetry and political elections. The year was 2016. I was so proud to be able to go to the polls as a woman and vote for a woman, with my first child moving in my belly. I stuck my I voted sticker on my bump, took a photo. That night after the election results, I had a panic attack. I got into the bed and cried. You see, we have always sought to raise our sons to be more like Mr. Rogers than Donald Trump. I couldn't imagine a world where my sons would see a man in one of the most powerful, revered roles in the United States not behaving as if there is something to learn from everyone, that every person has the right to dignity and value, and that we should choose kindness over fear, bullying, blaming, and fighting to get our own way at the expense of others. The year is 2024. Vice President Kamala Harris is now running against Donald Trump as the Democratic nominee for president. An electric excitement pours over our country, many parts of our country. I attend the White Women for Kamala call and hear Glennon Doyle talk about overcoming anxiety to do something that makes you shake. The next morning I asked, what can I do? I have 2 young children. We are a one-income family. I have a chronic illness which keeps me from making strong commitments to things, anxiety. I sipped some coffee. Then I thought about my giftedness. Where are the poets? I thought. Sipping more coffee, this idea came to my heart. In a deeply red state where my vote often feels as if it doesn't count very much, I thought of all the moments growing up, historical moments, hard, exciting, and even dangerous times, votes for women, the civil rights movement in Birmingham where I live, the women's movement, marching, protesting, being part of change. I thought about this moment. The awful anxiety and guilt I feel dropping my kids off at school where I know they could be in incredible danger due to gun violence in our country. The hard battle I won to own my own strength and worth as a woman after years of struggle, and how heartbroken and heartbreaking it has been to watch women's rights in this country dwindle. I sat down and began to message my friends who have a heart for moving forward and a love for words. The following day, I had more than enough poets for a virtual reading and fundraiser. A friend offered his studio to help with the technical aspects. One of my favorite poets, who has done so much for women's rights as well as the literary community, agreed to feature. Momentum. People were excited. Friends offered to invite their amazing poetry friends. One morning after another feature agreed to read with us, I literally jumped on the bed. And here we are, moving forward daily. Friends encouraging and advising, me teaching myself new things, creating, curating, and feeling more like myself than I have in a long time. The stay at home mom who hadn't been writing very much and had lost her sense of community. I went to readings online to support poets who had committed to the reading. I remembered who I am. I fell deeper in love with poetry and the poetry world again. I felt like I had purpose. I was blessed to be encouraged and supportive of creatives who have always been amazing to me. I didn't feel alone anymore. I'm choosing to be on the right side of history. This has been a labor of love. I hope that it helps Kamala Harris's campaign through kindness and connection with words, as well as raises money to support the Harris Waltz journey. I am so grateful for the positive effect this adventure has had on my journey. If anything, people will be blessed. I have been blessed. And isn't that what democracy is meant to be at its absolute best? Life made better by the people, for the people. Poets for Kamala are writing poetry for this election. This time, any ice cream we eat will be in celebration. This time, I have given birth to a better version of myself. And well, I'm not going back. We're not going back. And neither are the women of Star Trek, by the way. Why might I be mentioning this? Because we have a very special guest with us tonight who I am thankful wanted to participate with us. I had the honor of meeting her last year, and we connected over our mutual love of poetry and our mutual admiration for our leadoff poet tonight, Marge Piercy. You may know Gates McFadden from her role on Star Trek TNG and most recently Star Trek Picard as Dr. Beverly Crusher. Her voice work this season on X-Men 97 or the incredible work she does writing, producing, and hosting her podcast investigates. Who do you think you are? Welcome, Gates.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really, really honored to be here. Poetry has been a big part of my life, and I have read many of the people who are represented here, not all of you, but I'm very honored. You know, hope is a word that Star Trek fans use to describe why they watch the show. I hear it all the time. They say it makes them feel less alone. It has values of inclusiveness, tolerance, fairness, on-screen stories of disagreeing colleagues actually agreeing to collaborate for the greater good. Some of the episodes have representation, acceptance of a better future that gives our fans hope. And women are equal partners to men. There are just as many female admirals as captains in the Star Trek universe, and they get paid the same salary. There's childcare in space. Racial bias just isn't allowed, doesn't exist. And people actually feel a responsibility to one another. Well, in the late 1960s and early 70s, I discarded my girdles and bras, and I marched for equal rights. A woman's right of sovereignty over her own body. I thought it was going to happen, but it turns out it was just the amuse-bouche. It wasn't the full meal. I'm still waiting for that. I want the full meal. And now, on planet Earth, Kamala Harris is running for the office of President of the United States of America. A female and biracial candidate running for the presidency. And I'm assuming that if she gets it, she has the same salary as a man would have in that position. Because I'll tell you, I'm not going back. We are not going back. And I would like to share with you a poem that I love. Amanda Gorman. Arborescent 3, or Elpis. Let us rephrase, for we'll say it right this time. And isn't that what endings are for? We do not hope for no reason. Hope is the reason for itself. We don't care for our beloveds for any specific, singular logic, but rather for the whole of them. That is to say, love is justified by loving. Like you, we are haunted and human. You, like us, are haunted and healing. What we feel to be true can only be understood by what it does to the body. The same as trees. We too are shaped by how we twist toward all that shoots us through with sun. We truly are growing up and out of this hurt. If we'd rather char than chain this love. Our only word for this is change. Tonight, it is truly an honor to introduce the lead-off poet for the evening. A woman that the Boston Globe has described as not just an author, but a cultural touchstone. Few writers in modern memory have sustained her passion and skill for creating stories of consequence. Marge Piercy has spent the majority of her life active in the anti-war movements as well as feminism and environmental causes. She has written 17 novels and 19 volumes of poetry. The most recently published include Made in Detroit and On the Way Out, Turn Off the Light. Her critically acclaimed memoir is Sleeping with Cats. Born in Center City, Detroit, she was educated at the University of Michigan and Northwestern, the recipient of 4 honorary doctorates. She is praised as one of the few American writers who are accomplished poets as well as novelists. One of our best-selling poets. She has taught, lectured, and performed her work at well over 400 universities around the world. And when I was a young woman at Brandeis University in the late 60s and 70s, the work of Marge Piercy gave me hope. Her fierceness, intellect, and humor drew me to her published books. I too thought the moon was female. I too thought bonsai trees were beautiful yet stunted. I too did not want to be a Barbie doll, but I did think it would be pretty cool to be a poet, especially one as gifted as Marge Piercy. It is really my great pleasure to introduce our next reader, a poet that I have looked up to for many years, Marge Piercy.
Actually, it's Piercy.
Piercy.
Yeah.
Well,
All
it's
right.
the first time I've met you. I've only read you.
Shall I start?
Go
Okay.
ahead, Marge. Yes.
All we won wiped away. At 18, poor and pregnant from a man I no longer trusted or loved, unable to find help, I aborted myself, bled half to death. I swore no woman I could help would ever suffer so. Kept a Rolodex of abortionists, raised money, escorted. In Chicago, a woman came to me afterwards, hemorrhaging, called her doctor. He hung up. Packed her with ice, blood pouring, puddling. She will die. I will go to prison. But finally, I got her under control. We marched, rabble roused, bust the legislatures. Finally, Roe v. Wade, no more dying women, children left motherless, no girls forced to give birth. But the men who wanted women poor and pregnant, stuck bearing children with the genes of their rapist, overwhelmed with kids they can't feed, will once again grow poor, die in bed soaked in blood. I will never forget or forgive Trump's hand-picked court. Yes, grab a woman by the pussy and let us learn how little we matter to powerful men. It all comes home to us. The moon crawls out of the pines, solemn and almost brown, just a thin slice on one side as if someone had used a knife. Before we lament our world dying of profit and greed, the smoke of the dead rising to join the bone-white moon, what we seem to do best is to kill. But wolves, lions kill to eat, we slaughter for sport. Because they're in the way, for trophies, for the joy of it, the power, the money. Peaceable kingdom will never come while we infest the earth. We are strip mining, fracking, peeling off forests, poisoning land, water, and air for more profits for those who already have way too much money. The animal that replaces us should be an improvement. us. We force children to go to school. Schools are shooting galleries. We force children to experience death. Don't go to a concert, you might die. Don't go to the mall, you might die. Don't go to pray, you might die. Don't go to the movies, you might die. Above all, don't go to college or school, you might die. Every bullet sprayed is money for some corporation. Every child who dies is profit for the NRA. Every murder brings contributions to senators, congressmen, governors who couldn't care less. How much do any of us care if the child bleeding out is not ours? We live in a gun-happy country. Some grow rich, some never come home. Some never grow up. Are you giving me a signal?
I was applauding you.
Oh, okay. It's dread o'clock, time when all the troubles swarming through the computer screen, the TV, the car radio, gather in a cloud of lead and stinging ice particles that blind. Threats to our lives, wildlife, the water and air, all now dangerous. How can we go on with busy days, work, laundry, supper, feed the cats, take out garbage, while the earth itself weeps? Earth is trying to get rid of us with weather extremes that kill, but not enough. We're still poisoning all except tardigrades and cockroaches. We too could use armor, but against whom? We ourselves are the enemy. Ethics for Republicans. An embryo is precious. A woman is a vessel. A fertilized egg is a person. A woman is indentured to it. An embryo sacred until birth. After that, they're on their own. Abortion is murder. Rape, incest are means to an end. That precious fertilized egg housed in an expendable body. Let's make babies and babies and babies. Children are something else. Probably future criminals, probably welfare cheats whose education hikes taxes. You can freely dispose of them. Every day, a new outrage. I feel us being pushed back back into a time of illegal or do-it-yourself abortions. I feel us being pushed back to gays and lesbians closeted, trans folks denied help. I feel us being pushed back to the hatred of Jews exploding, taken for granted in colleges. I feel power lies in the hands of those who despise everything I am or ever wanted to be. They wave their God around like an exhibitionist's penis, the God full of angry laws. Must I return to childhood fears, repression, an iron lid on any spark of freedom? The extreme court. Their views are clear as a plate of glass. People of color, those without lots of money, don't deserve college or debt relief. Those too poor to own air conditioning or fly off to a cool island aren't needed any longer. They die so easily. Let them. The government should never meddle with corporate profits, but wicked women who like sex should die or at least suffer. There should be a Christian nation as they interpret it. Tighten it up, punish children who dare to be hungry. Public education is a waste. The rich are holy, God says so, should be honored, handed whatever they want. Their God is a tyrant, so much like Trump. He becomes him. Home. Cats hate closed doors. I hate closed minds. Folks for whom an idea struck and stuck, lacking company, perhaps it filled them a church or a rally. Perhaps their revered parents fed it to them with pudding. But that belief, that certainty, filled them to the tip top of their brains, leaving no room for anything new. They live in a cocoon, but no butterfly will ever emerge.
Yay.
The current political scene. Right now, Republicans act like mad dogs, snapping at everything that moves. They aim to impeach every public official who actually does what the job they were elected to do. Any help provided those of us not billionaires is a crime. Any voter not all white needs blocking. Any woman who imagines she has rights is wrong. They fight imaginary woke anti-fa mobs. The country they love is long gone because it squashed most of us. And we hope to change it all to something infinitely better. The 3-star restaurant. He eats a good lunch. The senator who hates women, especially those who don't smile enough, don't polish his ego or prick. Pain is good for their souls. He has a classic dry martini, the senator who votes to strip food stamps from children, health care from old ladies, clean water from everyone. A stream runs through his mind, white, pure as new ice. He knows who his real friends are, donors, people with darker skin. Can't you see how dirty they are? Money from oil, from big pharma, from insurance, big security, utilities, the extremely rich. What does he need with us? Superfluous. Nothing to offer except our lives, our health, our bodies for endless wars. He does not represent us, although he speaks the right cliches that light up brains. Much self-love can be dangerous. Narcissus loved only himself, adoring his reflection. But suppose he had enormous power and could crown himself emperor. His only goal, puffing himself up till there's nothing, only him in the world, all others expendable unless obediently helping him expand. Why would we give power to Narcissus? Let him dwell in wilderness alone with mirrors and pools. What still stands? When I look back on my long life that I hope will grow longer yet, there are relationships I regret. Sometimes the way they ended, sometimes that they began at all. I regret cats I didn't adopt when I could have. I regret friends' invitations I didn't accept, and then they were gone. But my political actions, I regret none. Not the legal and the illegal to end the unjust war. The wars I fought to make abortion available, legal, voting rights, rights of all people to access what they need. No regrets. Nothing I did to make the world better, whether it was forbidden, illegal, dangerous, a failure. If I had the strength, I'd do every bit of it again. It's only a short life between a pale dawn and a garish sunset. It's only a short life. Why not use it? What we ignore comes back to bite us in the ass. What we fail to do rots, breeding maggots. We are covered in lies, so it's hard to see, hard to breathe deeply. We say we were chosen to struggle when the task is rock heavy. Turn the TV to a cartoon, go out for fast food, bar the door, sleep tight. The assassin in the street isn't aimed at you yet. Why bother to be bothered? We were born in bad times when murder is patriotic, hatred a golden banner. What can we do? Something more than nothing. Pick up a rock, an axe, a mic, your cell, a painted sign. It's only a short life. Spend it well. It could be a new day. I woke up this morning and the sun rose in my belly. A chance at last. We have a chance to move forward instead of back to when women died bloody from botched abortions, when only white men were created equal. The choice is clear as a traffic light. Go back or go forward. Kamala opened the door for us to push through. She brought the sun back. Thank you.
Thank you, Marge. I love that so much. And also, I just want to thank you for everything you've done literarily, politically, from taking women to have safe trips to clinics to using your voice against unjust wars. Like, we just want to thank you for being here tonight.
Well, you put a lot of work into it.
Oh, thank you. Also, I haven't got to read with you for 14 years. What a great time to read with Marge Piercy, huh? Gates, I wanted to say thank you very much for the gifted reading of Amanda Gorman's poem. It was amazing. You have a gorgeous voice.
Oh, well, thank you. My joy was listening to who followed me. I mean, fantastic poetry.
Trouble is, I have a little frog in my throat tonight, so my voice wasn't normal.
You were amazing, and thank you for writing all that you do. You're amazing.
Let's move on to other people.
Okay. All right. So far, we've raised a little over $1,000. We're going to keep that coming. No donation is too small or too large. Before I introduce our next poet, I would like to remind you to register to vote, but also to go to vote.org and to check that you are still registered to vote. This has happened to me before. I've been taking off a voting list, so make sure that your voting location is the same, that your ID is up to date. It's very, very important before November. All right, so I am so honored to have Amber Tamblyn reading with us. She is a champion for democracy and justice. She is doing everything she can to spread truth, whether it is being at the DNC a week after emergency appendectomy, giving her time on a multitude of virtual events, or hosting her series online about Project 2025 that is not to be missed. It is educational and entertaining. Hold on. Amber is an Emmy and a Golden Globe nominated actress, director, and writer. She is the author of 7 critically acclaimed books across genres, including the best-selling anthology Listening in the Dark, Women Reclaiming the Power of Intuition, which features essays by powerhouses such as Amy Poehler, Gia Tolentini, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and many more. She is an opinion writer for the New York Times, The Cut, and The New Yorker, writing on themes pertaining to gender inequality and women's rage. Her most recent writing can be found at ambertamblyn.substack.com. Welcome, Amber. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for this incredible work that you have put into this event when everyone was sort of doing their like fill in the blank for Kamala. You know, when you said we got to do poets for Harris, and I thought, of course we have to do poets for Harris. So I felt very honored that you asked me to read tonight. And Marge, what a gorgeous belly of work that you just read for us. What an opening. What a way to get the rage roiling. So one of the things that I did years ago, I've been politically active since I was pretty young. I was raised around poets my whole life, living in Southern California, raised around some of the most political poets, from Diane DePrima to my writing mentor, the late Jack Hirschman, to the late Wanda Coleman, Amiri Baraka, some incredible, prolific political powerhouses. It sort of sent me on a trajectory about really caring about a lot of these issues. And in 2008, I co-ran Hillary Clinton's youth outreach program for her 2008 campaign and also for 2016. And I keep this on my shelf as a reminder of the sexism that women in leadership face. This is something I picked up at a gas station in 2008. They were selling lots of memorabilia around the country then. This is a Hillary stainless steel thighed nutcracker to destroy the men in your life, is what it claims. We all know this is nothing new. Everyone from Maxine Waters to Shirley Chisholm have faced these sexist assaults, even dating further back than that. So I feel so honored to be here with artists, with people who speak so deeply to the emotional moment that we are in, the numbness that we feel. And I think to be able to be artists who can resensitize us to feeling again and to being able to emote in such a complex, difficult time. And so I'm honored to be here. I'm going to read one poem, but I'm going to start with a poem by one of my favorite poets, Lucille Clifton. And I've been thinking a lot about this as of recent, and the work that we do and the work that we sometimes forget to do, and knowing that it's going to take all of us and all of everything that we have, whether it's volunteering, whether it's coming and reading our poems like on Zooms like this, whether it's chipping in a little bit of money, whether it's making phone calls, getting out the vote in any capacity, because sadly it is going to be very tight in November. That is a fact. And so, like many of you, I want to be on the other side of that, feeling like I did everything that I could. So It Was a Dream by Lucille Clifton. in which my greater self rose up before me, accusing me of my life, with her extra finger whirling in a gyre of rage, at what my days had become. What, I pleaded with her, could I do? Oh, what could I have done? And she twisted her wild hair, and she sparked her wild eyes, and screamed as long as I could hear her. This, this, this. This poem I'm going to read came out in the New Yorker in June, very fittingly with this image on the cover. It's Trump in handcuffs. May we see it? This is called This Living. It's going to be a lunar eclipse. It's going to be critically acclaimed and win none of the awards. It's going to start as an argument over what's buried inside the tomb, but end in silence over what's discovered beneath it. It's going to happen on your birthday, in front of the mailman, while you're receiving the letter for your sister sent by her murderer. It's going to appear once a week in your backyard for decades without ever speaking. It's going to ruin the cake when you throw an urn full of cat ashes in your ex-best friend's face at her baby shower. Do it. It's going to make you get under the table and drink there. It's going to explode right there in the dairy aisle. It's going to make you laugh. It's going to remind you why you can't go in mosh pits anymore. It's going to freeze to death right there in your arms. It's going to make all the kids stare out the school bus window and sing to you. It's going to rain where he is. It's going to be impossible for you not to flood. It's going to hurt for a while. It's going to have to. It's going to make you buy all the scarves in his girlfriend's favorite patterns. It's going to happen in the wind during the middle of fire season while he's telling you it's going to have to end soon. It's going to be hard to end soon. It's going to wipe out your entire wild life. It's going to be remembered fondly, your heart unable to keep its hands to itself. It's going to be a strong love, but only parallel his lover, never perpendicular her. It's going to make you unable to quell the bad thoughts of his dainty gull and her inkless quill. It's going to bring out the best of the worst in you. It's going to outlast television. It's going to take the shape of poems left under the doormats of retired generals. It's going to happen any day now. It's going to be so good if it doesn't kill us first. The way things are going, it's probably going to kill us first. It's going to be a nightmare when the Pope gets here. It's going to change everything. It's going to make your metaphors make you even if you don't want to. It's going to sound like coyotes killing behind your back, spook like a stallion's ghost. It's going to cost you. It's going to sound familiar, a truck driver humming Schubert. It's going to have to be removed by a doctor. It's going to go into too much detail. It's going to use your daughter against you. It's going to make you eat everything on all the plates, at all the hours. It's going to fill you with sorrow. It's going to fill you with relief. It's going to show you how you got here. It's going to say something cliche like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to hit any minute now. It's going to leave you speechless. It's something you're going to have to carry for the rest of your life. It's going to get dark soon. It's going to feel like it just happened yesterday. It's going to sit well with no one. It's going to be worth it. It's going to build you back up. It's going to get better every day. It's never going to give up. This living, it's going to belong to you. Thank you, Amanda, for having me. Thank you, everyone, to all the poets out there. Keep doing what you're doing. We need you. The world needs you. The country needs you. And lovers of poetry, we need you too. We are in this pain together. And I celebrate all of you. Donate your time, your money, whatever you can. Thank you.
Amanda, you're off the air.
I did not unmute myself. That was fabulous. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all you're doing. I love your poetry. I have for forever. And I just love getting to see through social media all the things you're doing for democracy and for justice. Is there any way you can share with everybody how they can view the Project 2025 series that you're doing?
Of course. So we started a very short 90-second satirical video that breaks down this godforsaken book, which I have been studying. Here's 2 copies of it, 2 volumes, Project 2025. This is the entirety of the playbook. And what it's meant to do is sort of break it down into easily digestible, heavily satirical bits about each chapter, the gutting of the Department of Education, militarizing the police, gutting Health and Human Services. There is just so much. So you can find that on pretty much any of my social media channels. It's really meant to target social media in these small clips in the sort of TikTok world. So you can find me at Amber Rose Tamblyn on Instagram, or it's on Twitter. Just look up Amber Tamblyn Project 2025. You'll find it.
Thank you. Some of us, we don't want to
And
read
I mean,
the whole
if,
thing.
but you
So
can't control how.
was that? I don't know who that was. Okay. All right. Thank you. I wanted to remind everyone that the donation link is in the chat, but also you can go to www.poetsforkamala.org and just click donate. It takes just a few seconds. So I wanted to introduce our next featured poet. I met Tiana Clark doing open mics in the Nashville poetry community. Her work seeps into the bone marrow of her readers, and it is my strong belief that her poems should be required reading for just being human. Tiana Clark is the author of the poetry collection Scorched Earth, forthcoming in March 2025. I Can't Talk About the Trees Without the Blood, which won the 2017 Agnes Lynch Sterrett Prize from University of Pittsburgh Press, and Equilibrium, which won the 2016 Frost Place Chapbook Competition from Bull City Press. Clark is a winner for the 2020 Kate Tufts Discovery Award, a 2019 National Endowment for the Arts Literature Fellow, and the 2015 Rattle Poetry Prize. She is a recipient of the 2021-2022 Amy Lowell Poetry Traveling Scholarship and a 2019 Pushcart Prize. She is the Grace Hazard Conkling Writer in Residence at Smith College. Find out more at tianaclark.com. I would like to add that she is also one of the founding members of the Lucille Clifton Collective in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Tiana.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you for organizing this. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you, Amber, for bringing Miss Lucille Clifton's voice into the Zoom room. Beautiful reading, Marge, and such a beautiful rendition of Amanda Gorman's poem, Gates. That was lovely to hear. So many poets in the Zoom room that I adore, and so many that I don't know, but I'm excited to adore you soon. I'm going to read 2 poems, a short one and a little bit of a long one. I was asked by The Atlantic a couple summers ago when Roe v. Wade was turned over to respond, and this is my poem. Considering Roe v. Wade, Letters to the Black Body. Dear highest price, dear bear the brunt and double blow, dear HeLa cells still doubling, dear disproportionately impacted, dear Archana without anesthesia during surgery with SEMS, dear Fanny and the Mississippi appendectomies with the sick and tired, ceaseless sonic crown, dear Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis, dear Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women, to all the Black babies sliced from lynched women's bellies, spilling Black jelly, then burned as crackled wood, singing singe under silent white starlight. Dear unbelieved pain, dear thick skin myth, and yet Black skin must be thicker. Dear Black slaves chewing a brew of cotton roots as a form of reproductive resistance, even when threatened with death, the body strikes. Dear alum water, teaspoon of turpentine, rue, camphor, and chugging gunpowder mixed with sweet milk. Dear Black body that I adore, dear Black body that I now listen to, shimmering with acute tenderness. Look at my mother's hands, how they search and cut the thread to take out my weave, as if deadheading Black finished blooms from my scalp. What survives in us is us. This next poem is called The First Black Bachelorette. In the fall of 2016, like all of us, I was in shock. And for me, I started writing these really long poems as a way to speak back to the political landscape where I felt very, very small. And as poets, often we're known for concision, but there is a long poem, the epic, and I wanted to respond back with chasing the line with breathlessness. I'm going to read an abridged version of this poem, but it's called The First Black Bachelorette, and I wanted to read some snippets from it tonight. Thank you all again. When Brian was kissing Rachel and slid his hand inside her hair, her long, long hair, I wondered if he felt threaded tracks of weave and what he thought when he felt her weave. Was he startled or did he know? But when he reached for her, I felt his fingers on my scalp too. I did, through the TV, I swear, I was wincing. My white guy doesn't like fake things, but I like my fake hair long and my real hair protected, my glory tucked and hidden, something easy and fast. I'm hoping it will grow too. I wonder who does Rachel's hair on the show, blending her leave out with her natural hair, who slicks her edges down with good grease and a boar brush when the wind blows back her baby hairs. Sometimes my eyes feel thick and weird from fresh eyelash extensions. In the beginning, my head hurt from the braided ropes of hair encircling my scalp, tight. You want it tight, she says. You want the cornrows so small that your fake hair looks passable, and hope you take the pain. It takes so damn long to be almost beautiful. I've sat in salon chairs all day with Black women behind me, laboring and taming my mane. I like the pattern crop circles carved into my scalp right before the wefts of somebody else's Brazilian hair are sewn like human icing into mine, delicious. I want the fire to smell a type of threat in me and back away. I want the fire to know I was already consumed, burned inside my belonging. And yet Rachel, who scratches your dandruff like tea cake in chapter 11 of Their Eyes Were Watching God? Who detangles and combs your hair with deep conditioner? Who wraps your hair at night? Has Brian seen you in your silk bonnet yet? You know it's real when you're riding on top with your hair wrapped. It takes a lot of money to look this trashy, Dolly Parton says. Lala Milan says she was never ugly, just poor. I want my teeth fixed and chiseled, but veneers are so expensive. I hide my coffee-stained crooked things. Cardi B raps, got a bag and fixed my teeth. Hope you hoes know it ain't cheap. So I try to hide the unevenness in my teeth when I talk, which means sometimes I don't talk when I can see myself. I try to hide the gaps and how sharp my teeth really are, how animal, how lower class, how cash poor my mouth really is. This time, I just wanted to watch a Black woman on TV fall in love for entertainment, for escape. The best cure for microaggressions is shitty TV, and again, Cardi B. Ahmaud says, for us American Blacks, we are post-apocalyptic. The end is not near, but behind us. We are what survived our 12 million enslaved, shipped, and spread. We are what was not hung, dumped, or flung from the zong, splashing and graveless, lest you think the ocean a tombstone. The ocean is not scared or sacred enough. But we out here, anyway, trying to save ourselves still sprinkling black pepper behind our feet as we run away. But there is no north now. We find the drinking gourd within ourselves, guiding stars within our own black-lit blood we glow. Maybe it's true then, that beauty is a type of survivor's guilt, a sackcloth I suffer and itch and injure from and for, or rather that I'm seen through sin. Dirty Hottentot zoo is my body. I was such a terrible Lady Macbeth in high school. Hermania didn't make sense to me, until it was activated in me when a man left me in my blood in 20s. There's a type of grief I carry in my hands, some dark, unwipeable thought, some liquid other, like my daddy's DNA, his spots. I'm trying to cover them with this talk of beauty. I'm repenting for something. I don't know what. I wasn't meant to be born, but ain't I a beautiful bastard? And doesn't everybody want to be cleaned by slices of jailed light? Keats wrote, beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all. I don't know what that means. I've had some dark inkling about its succinct finality. Even in class, I pretended to know what the poem was about when I would discuss Crassus and the Grecian urn with my students, telling them about art responding to art and how to make a static image sing. But even then, I was pretending. I don't want to be dumb, my worst fear. A bunch of students would all point and call me a fraud. I once asked Mark, my professor in grad school, when I would stop feeling like an imposter. He said I would feel this way for the rest of my life, which I think is closer to some type of truth, which is attractive because it provides relief to know everyone might be just as insecure and afraid of others as me, and possibly watching The Bachelorette on Monday nights, like when I found out on the podcast Commonplace, Sharon Olds loves the show too. I squealed because I wasn't alone anymore. I'm not writing for mastery or legacy. I couldn't care less. In fact, I might be writing against it, a way of talking back to beauty, back to the spoiled fruit on the altar of my body, back to the pressurized gaze on my skin every damn day. I'm hyper aware that I'm hyper visible, says Hope Aloye, 20, from Newham, East London, the only Black biomedical student in her year at Oxford, who hasn't been broken by a touch, who hasn't been barbed by a glare. You can't write poems about beauty when the streets are full of racists and rapists and the president is a pussy grabber. I want to peg the canon, so I'm running back and forth between the house of silence and the house of shame, shouting over and over again with ink-stained fingers on days when I write with Dwinde, no one can touch me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tiana. It takes so damn long to be almost beautiful. I felt that hard as a woman, especially a mom and someone who's recently reached middle age. I wanted to tell you that it's been such a privilege to, like when we lived in Nashville together, watching you fall back in love with poetry, and now seeing that love has just spawned all kinds of amazing realizations of who you are as a poet, and I'm so very proud of you. Thank
so
you
much.
for reading tonight.
Thank you, Amanda.
I wanted to welcome some people. We've recently just had quite a few people come in. Thank you for being here tonight. You can hit the link down in the chat if you would like to donate. And if you're enjoying what you're hearing tonight, I would love it if you would think of a few friends and text them the link. Maybe they could come in here too. Our next incredible poet featuring tonight, I cannot remember a time when Jeanann Verlee's poetry hasn't been on my YouTube poetry playlist. My husband walks around quoting her poems and not even knowing where he knows them from. Her poetry punches you in the gut and carves significance on your heart at the same time. Jeanann Verlee is the author of 3 books: Pray, finalist for the Benjamin Saltman Award; Said the Manic to the Muse, and Racing Hummingbirds, silver medal winner in the Independent Publisher Awards. She has received a National Endowment for the Arts Poetry Fellowship, the Third Coast Poetry Prize, and the Sandy Crimmins National Prize. Her poems and essays are featured in a number of journals, including Academy of American Poets, Adroit, BuzzFeed, Muzzle, and Thrush. She served as poetry editor for the Winter Tangerine Review and Union Station, among others, has edited several award-winning books. A veteran of Poetry Slam, Verlee is a writing and performance coach who facilitates workshops remotely and at schools, theaters, libraries, bookstores, and dive bars across North America. She collects tattoos, kisses Rottweilers, and believes in you. Find her at jeanannverlee.com.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's just such an honor to be with this lineup of just absolute heroes. And I wrote an essay lyric essay, poetic, a lot of poetic leanings in this, but it's not a poem, it's an essay. And I'm going to dive into it so that we can get to all of the readers. Again, thank you, Amanda. Congratulations. This is amazing. Everybody vote. Big love to all. This is Animalium Domesticorum, a reverse chronology. Well-behaved women seldom make history. Laurel Thatcher Ulrich. Prologue. From an aerial view, this essay, such as it is, traces, reconsiders, and attempts to contextualize conservative patriarchal neutralization of the revered feminine in 13 palindromic steps. Stick with me. In ancient cultures, the number 13 represented femininity in correspondence with the number of menstrual cycles in a year. Biblically, the number 13 is associated with rebellion, sin, lawlessness. The Torah, 13 attributes of mercy. Tarot deck, the card of death. Numerology, luck, and prosperity. Mayan calendar cycle, pyramids, Friday the 13th. Elevators, skip the number entirely. 13 astronomical constellations, 13 Knights of the Round Table, 13 colonies, Apollo 13, Judas, the 13th apostle, a baker's dozen. But this is not a story of enumeration. It is one of control, men's eradication of women's autonomy. So, count with me. 13, animalium, Latin meaning of animals. When conditions are unfavorable, non-human animals assess the viability of the offspring, the self, the larger family, and the social order, then make critically life-affirming choices for the greater good, such as fetal reabsorption, embryonic stasis, abortion induction, filial cannibalism, siblicide. 12. I was born. I learned yes and thank you and darlin'. I learned that no is a bullet. 11. Women die in bathtubs every day. We die in basements and hospitals, prisons, backseats of cop cars, subway tracks, home. Gutted, drowned, butchered, barrel end of a Glock, chokehold, ovarian cancer, breast, open wrist, childbirth, amniotic embolism, sepsis, stroke, heart failure, exsanguination. 10. No, I don't want pie. No, I don't want to drink. No, I won't give you my number. No, I won't smile. No, I don't want company. No, I don't want you. 9. Hashtag not all men. A found poem of stupid shit men have said to me. It's a good thing you had an abortion because you would have been a terrible mother. You only won because you've got good tits. Ah, yes, a woman's work is never done. I'm going to take you home so you can teach my wife how to clean. Oh, I want that tight little ass. Witches are for burning. Go home and learn how to be a mama. If you leave, I'll kill you, idiot, bitch, useless, jackass, retard, crazy, selfish, stupid, cunt. 8. Domesticorum, Latin meaning subspecies of animal found in or around the home. My mother never taught me that no as a response is a complete sentence. My grandmother, however, after being sent home from school for defending herself against a boy's groping hands, returned on horseback and galloped that horse up the front steps of her one-room schoolhouse, through the door, along the center aisle, past rows of classmates, and thundered past the teacher's desk, out the back door, leaving a trail of mud and horse shit in her wake. 7. An interviewer asks why hands appear in so many of my poems. Sean's, lined with black grit. Jim's, plump and freckled. Robert's, stippled in faded green ink. Alan's, Brian, Justin, Patrick, Graham, Freeman, the old man in the gold Plymouth, the boy with the missing tooth, the one who gagged me with lemon juice, the 4 whose hands throttled the dog, hands under the table, hands pinning my wrists, hands in a chokehold, clocking left, clocking right, covering my mouth, tearing my skirt, my sheets, my underwear, hashtag not all men. The interviewer asks, is this meditation intentional? As if my poems are accidental, as if I merely stubbed my toe and accused the chair of being a predator. Animalium, I say. Evolution. Opposable thumbs, I say. A man and all of his hands, hundreds of men, all of their hands. 6, hashtag yes, all women. I'm sorry. Please. I didn't mean to. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Please, my bad. Of course. Yes. Yes. Sorry. So sorry. I'm sorry. Tell me what it was I was asking for. Tell me what I was asking for. Tell me to smile again. Say wife, sister, mother, daughter, auntie. Say pet, prize, property. Say I talk too much. Say I take up too much space. Say I am too much, much too much. Yes, all women smile, nod, smile, 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 panic, negotiate, regret, nurture, mentor, fawn, tend, tidy, gather, behave. 5. An open letter to J.D. Vance. May Usha never behave. 4. Evolution. The process of continuous change from a lower, simpler form to a higher, more complex form. Animal, a multicellular organism with a nervous system and specialized sense organs. Beast, a lower animal, especially one that is large or dangerous. Of beast, I quote, person, woman, man, camera, TV. It must be a pretty picture, you dropping to your knees. Women, you have to treat them like shit. As long as I've got a young and beautiful piece of ass. Women are far worse than men, far more aggressive. Grab them by the pussy. 3. An open letter to Justices Alito, Roberts, Thomas, Gorish, Kavanaugh, and Barrett. You killed Amber Thurman. 2. Hashtag yes all women reprise. Tampon, menstruation, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, vagina, vulva, labia, cervix, clitoris, ovary, fallopian, fertility, pregnancy, ectopic, in vitro, intrauterine, abortion, miscarriage, life-threatening, unwanted, desperately wanted, unsure, contraception, nipple, lobules, bulbs, ducts, mammary, mammal, biology, cisgender, transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, top surgery, bottom, tops and bottoms. A woman is a woman is a woman is a woman is a woman's genitals are none of your fucking business. 1. An open letter to the authors of Project 2025. No, absolutely not. Under no circumstances, by no means negative, negatory, nope, nada, no, yet, nay, nine, never, not on your life, no siree, nah, nope, never, 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 most certainly not, no, no, no. We are not going back.
Wow. You blow my mind all the time, Jeanann. You're amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Also, in April, I had the chance to go to one of Jeanann's workshops, and it was incredible. It helped me get out of a writing slump, and I recommend if you see that she's teaching one, you sign on super fast. So we're about to start into, we finished the features, and we're going to have different poets reading one poem on the theme We're Not Going Back. Before that, I would like to tell you that if you would like to volunteer for the campaign in some way, whether you are an introvert like me or you are incredibly extroverted, you can go to KamalaHarris.com. You can click volunteer, put in your zip code, and all kinds of volunteer opportunities will pop up, and you can just pick what's best for you. All right, so let's get started with our fellow poets who are writing on the theme. Next up is my beautiful friend and the woman I couldn't have gone on this adventure without. She kept me sane and said, "You're not going to quit," every other day. She has been encouraging the person I brainstorm with, and she is a masterpiece both as a human and at her craft. Please, I would like to write. I'm going to read your bio. Ray Rose is a self-proclaimed the real disabled housewife of everywhere, is an activist who co-hosts I Have a Disability So, a podcast about disability and chronic illness. Her book, Bipolar Disorder for Beginners, is available on Amazon. Her latest work appeared on the Poetry Foundation, and she earned her MFA in creative writing from Goddard College. She raises her 2 daughters in Southern California and blogs at glimby.com. Welcome, Ray.
1. We won't go back. I might go back, not back to the illegal abortion that killed my cousin when America was great too, but back to when I was 18, renting a room in a pink Victorian in San Francisco, writing speeches, attending rallies, rebel rousing. I wanted to shave my head like Ani DeFranco, to somehow morph into Ani DeFranco. But bam, I became disabled, locked away in a brain. I cannot go to rallies or rebel rouse, but I do write about my disabilities. If the personal is political, I am Che Guevara. 4, why don't you like me? You like fetuses a whole bunch, but not me. I mean, look, I'm already here. I have skin that hides a skeleton, red hair, and I breathe. I'm disabled, so you want to take my rights away. You've made plans for it. Project 2025? 5, I'm just a girl looking at a government, asking it to love her. 6, I might go back to her, the girl I thought got locked up, because all this shit is going down. I hear the girl I thought I lost sharpening her pencils. I might go back. And if we do, look out. So, it is my pleasure to introduce the woman who is the reason we are all here tonight. Amanda Oliver Hendricks, is a writer and poet who uses words to give a voice to and reflect her love for people society labels as outcasts. She's taken on deeply entrenched Alabama institutions about personal and controversial topics. Hendricks was most recently published in the anthology Sinew and Word Peace. Her work has appeared in various other literary journals. She has 2 chapbooks, Samurai in a Tutu, and Easter Shoes. Hendricks believes everyone has an important story to tell. She blogs at anythingbutsilent.wordpress.com. She gave birth to her 2 greatest poems and looks forward to the day she can be a professional fan fiction writer. Thank you for all of your work to create this night of hope for us, Amanda.
Thank you, Ray. This poem is called Freedom, a mother forced to be unfit. You must be 18 to be drafted into a war against your will, normally. We are an abnormal nation, insanely choosing to take the same actions over and 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 over, expecting different results. The action of choosing to do nothing. I am an American. I have decided to let my 6-year-old try his first cigarette this week. I will pour Budweiser into his dinosaur water bottle with the letters of his name in bold down the side, the week the Nashville platoon buries their casualties of learning. I will insist that he register to vote even though the time he has served will not matter to those who pull triggers. I will let him print his own name at the top of his application for VA benefits, knowing that if he makes it through the trenches of a U.S. education, suicide rates are high and mental health care just out of reach. I will drop him off at the closest tattoo parlor to get inked with art that doesn't wash away in a week. Invite his friends, 2 or 3. Hope he doesn't choose to commemorate me. I will drive to our neighboring state, the one without all the potholes in the freeways, and buy him a stack of lottery tickets. I will let him stay up past midnight scratching. I will take him to his first strip club, one that serves cheeseburgers, no onion, no pickle, hand him the dollar bills from his sharp bank, dance with him to celebrate his moments. If he makes it off the front line safely, I will help him buy cough syrup, spray paint, apply for a car, co-sign for him to have his own house, officiate his wedding. If he has not already donated his blood at school, I will go with him to the nearest Red Cross and we will bleed together. I may even let him drive us there. If the government has made my kindergartner fight with Crayola washable markers, thick number 2 pencils for easy grip, before he even has learned to read, to understand what death means, then I will give him his 18, the birthday that is not promised, as we take it one grade at a time, while the bad guy drills are allowed their AR-15s. Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about a video I saw recently. I wish I had it here, but it's easy to find on social media. A big part of the reason I want to vote for Kamala Harris is because I would like to have a leader that I know is going to care about my children and their safety. There was a video recently of a teenager that came up to Kamala at an event, and she started crying, and she said, "Please, I'm scared to go to school. Help me to be safe. And I need you to be courageous." And Kamala touched her arms and she said, "We will be courageous together. We will get the gun laws that we need. You will be able to go to school and be safe." And the girl was sobbing. And she looked at the vice president and said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm crying." And Kamala stopped her and she said, "Never apologize for the way that you feel. It's validated." I can't imagine the former president speaking that way to a child or teenager. And we have to vote. And I really love that video. When people ask me, am I just voting for Kamala because she's a woman? I like to show them that. So, we are about to hear from the poet laureate of Birmingham, my hometown. I do not often feel like I fit here, and I am so proud of this poet. In a deeply red state, she takes a beautiful stand for freedom. Welcome, Salam Green.
Thank you. Hello. We the women of these United States of America. I wrote this poem for Amber Nicole Thurman and Candy Miller, who will not be able to vote this year because they passed away in Georgia as a result of these horrible, horrible state laws we have. We the women of these United States of America. Press pause on the world and rest. Grounding into the earth, press pause and rest. Breathe into your chest. Press pause and listen. Listen to the sun, to the moon, and rest. Press pause and reflect. Give yourself some respect. Press pause and rest. Breathe. Then next. Reimagine. Dive deep into your DNA, the gene pool of your spirit. Press pause and restart. Reach into the energy of your inner self. Who dreamed you here? Press pause and reflect. We the women, she, her, they, theirs, hers of these United States of America. Shirley Chisholm, Mary McLeod Bethune, Audre Lorde, Rosa Parks, Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, openly born to be the human body we were meant to be, Black, brown, other, and proud, beautifully dangerous and no longer dying from anonymity, rooted deep, deep in the earth, buried in artistic identities of wakefulness, daughters of revolutions unprotected, sisters of lands unpopulated, wives of immigrants imprisoned, mothers of minorities and marginalized, transhumans of love and acceptance. We, the women of these United States of America, protesting in heels and alligator crocs, Fannie Lou Hamer did have pride. Harriet used her feet as swords, moving thick hips for a variety of intents, putting ideologies that no longer serve us to sleep, preaching in pulpits made for men. I am speaking, we are speaking, drop the microphone. We, the women of these United States of America, footsteps from Armageddon, Moses' burning bush, Eve's forbidden fruit, brides full of fire, red lipstick, engrossed in constitutional banter, politicians published in journals unread, we, the women of these United States of America, we will write a poem. We will be poetry on the tongues of the impatient. We will recommend the 10 Commandments for fodder. We will break the rules of the white hooded fathers that tried to murder our spirits. We, the women of these United States of America, we must be free, childless and happy, mothering and satisfied. Take your bombs and build bird nests so babies can learn to fly. Argue with me if you must. Women's rights are water, silky, clean oceans where everybody gets to swim. Dig for pearls from the soot of salvation instead of digging in the pocket to shoot rounds of hate. We, the women of these United States of America, redefined, dancing on square tabletops, drinking from cisterns of brown beer, chanting metrics with folding arms, slicing fresh summer cucumbers from Mr. Rob's outdoor market, lying awake in messy beds, escaping tigers who smell, recovering, always recovering, being human being, hardy, rough, thick, fat, fatter, tiny, little, big, hope, faithfully protected, complicated, real. We, the women of these United States of America, become presidents. Scream with a liberated soprano voice with our ghetto, ratchet, loud, Jamaican, Asian, young, aging, Haitian, Black, sorority, HBCU Southern twang. Refrain, refrain, refrain. Get out of our bedrooms and take your hands off our wounds. Get out of our bedrooms and take your hands out of our wounds. Get out of our bedrooms and take your hands out of our wounds. Remember, press pause, rest, breathe into your chest. Thank you.
Salam, thank you so much for being here. That was incredible. Thank you also for giving me and all of us a reason to be proud of Birmingham again. And you're amazing. It is my privilege to introduce our next poet. We share a similar appreciation for Mary Oliver. I am so glad they are sharing their work with us here tonight. Gabrielle Cavalcaresi is the author of The Last Time I Saw Amelia Earhart, Apocalyptic Swing, a finalist for the LA Times Book Prize, and Rocket Fantastic, winner of the Audre Lorde Award for Lesbian Poetry. Cavalcaresi's poems have been published or are forthcoming in numerous magazines and journals, including The Baffler, The New York Times, Poetry, Boston Review, Kenyon Review, Tin House, The New Yorker. Cavalcaresi is an editor-at-large at Los Angeles Review of Books and poetry editor at Southern Cultures. Welcome, Gabby.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me. And these poems make me want to stay alive. Hi from North Carolina, where we're keeping the hope. Hammond B3 organ cistern. The days I don't want to kill myself are extraordinary. Deep bass, all the people in the streets waiting for their high fives and leaping. I mean leaping when they see me. I am the sun-filled god of love, or at least an optimistic undersecretary. There should be a word for it. The days you wake up and do not want to slit your throat. Money in the bank, enough for an iced green tea every weekday and Saturday and Sunday. It's like being in the armpit of a Hammond B3 organ, just reeks of gratitude and funk, the funk of ages. I am not going to ruin my love's life today. It's like the time I said yes to gray sneakers, but then the salesman said, wait. And there, out of the back room, like the bakery's first biscuits, bright blue kicks. iridescent, like a scarab. Oh, who am I kidding? It was nothing like a scarab. It was like bright blue fucking sneakers. I did not want to die that day. Oh my God, why don't we talk about it? How good it feels. And if you don't know, then you're lucky. And also, you poor thing. Bring the band out on the stoop. Let the whole neighborhood hear. Come on, everybody. Say it with me nice and slow. No pills, no cliff, no brains on the floor. Bring the bass back. No rope, no hose. Not today, Satan. Every day I wake up with my good fortune and news of my demise. Don't keep it from me. Why don't we have a name for it? Bring the bass back. Bring the band back on the stoop. Hallelujah. Thanks so much.
Gabby, that poem is one of my favorite poems of all time. I'm so glad you shared it. Did you have another poem you wanted to share?
Oh, are you sure? I don't want to take up too much time, but sure. Just because you know, living in the vessels many of us live in, people seem to care so much about what we do everywhere, in the bathrooms and everywhere. No one wants to leave us alone when all we want to do is just love each other and be luminous. She ties my bow tie. What you thought was the sound of the deer drinking at the base of the ravine was not their soft tongues entering the water, but my love tying my bow tie. We were in our little house just up from the ravine. Forgive yourself. It's easy to mistake her wrists for the necks of deer. Her fingers move so deftly, one could call them skittish, though not really, because they aren't afraid of you. I know. You thought it was the deer, but they're so far down you couldn't possibly hear them. No, this is the breeze my love makes when she ties me up and sends me out into the world. Her breath pulled taut and held until she's through. I watch her in the mirror, not even looking at me. She's so focused on the knot and how to loop the silk into a bow. And hey, vote all the way down the ballot too. It's a big one. Thanks, everyone.
Amanda, we can't hear you.
Okay, good. My Dr. Pepper is not helping my brain work faster tonight. I just wanted to say that we have reached $2,058 so far tonight. Yes. My personal goal was 5,000. So if anybody wants to give $1, $5, it all will help. If we can get it up $100 more, I will match $100 to go along with it. I did want to talk a second about living in a deeply red state and desiring to do more. One site that you can check out is mobilize.us, and there are not a lot of neat ways that you can volunteer, but as a writer, I personally love to write letters and postcards. And so you can write postcards to swing states. I've had some friends, they call each other up, have a coffee date, write postcards. It's an amazing thing to do. So there are lots of ways that you can help the campaign. I would like to go ahead and introduce Amy Hoskins. Amy Hoskins has a vulnerability and kindness that is evident in her work as a visual artist and as a writer. She is a poet and a visual artist creating with disabilities from her home studio in South Nashville, Tennessee. Amy has written a novel, 2 poetry chapbooks, 1985 through 2019, and has had over 30 poems published. In 2024, Alien Buddha Press published poems since 2019 entitled The Semblance of Equal Grace. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Everyone is a hard act to follow. And I have a frog in my throat too. Thank you. It's an honor. I have a short poem. The vision is real. Some things need to be said. They try to silence you, keep you from marching truth to power, break you down with all their hate, keep you from standing up straight, look them in the eye like an equal. Keep walking to integrate your school, lift up your voice and sing the idea of freedom for all. Lift us all up together for a better progress. Pour food all over you at sit-ins, expletives sear your skin, but you remain nonviolent, like Martin Luther King Jr., like Gandhi before him. Water cannons, beatings, arrests, torture, murder, lynching, disappearances, assassination of our leaders if they inspire people too much. Their voices carry on, reverberate in the wind, the soul. Something strange happened, so different from anything before. Folks fill the streets to speak up against war, hypocrisy, for Black, Latino, Native American rights, women's rights, to stand up for the environment. Surviving violence to gain new civil rights, human rights that should extend across the globe. It gels. The vision is real. She burns her bra as defiantly as you burn your draft card. Sexual revolution further objectifies. Jump right in, not seeing. Jim Morrison sings your soundtrack down a death spiral of fire. Look into the smartphone only for daily news to burn my soul again. Jump out. The mother bear rises. Now is the time. Me too. Me too. Pink kitty hats are not a crime. Tear gas and zip ties you on the ground. Don't forget your rights. It's not a crime to protest nonviolently, even if they call you names that are lies. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, the dreams and the nightmares. Shared history is the mirror, a true edge of decision. The vision is real. We will not let you pass. We will not go back. We will not go back.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing that powerful poem. And I also want to thank you for how excited you've been for this reading and how I think you're like the #1 sharer on all the social medias, and I appreciate it so much. Do you want to tell people about your reading that you do monthly?
Yes, please. It's Gestalt Poetry Open Mic, and it's every month except November, December. It's the 4th Saturday of the month. This month is Henry L. Jones. It's the 28th, so it's a week from Saturday. And it's very eclectic, very safe place to be.
Thank you. I would like to say that I just saw recently that Ashley Jones, Alabama's poet laureate, entered the room, and so we would like to welcome her. She is amazing. And also, I think you guys probably really wanted to take my money because we're up to $24.58. That's exciting. I also wanted to apologize to Salam. I totally skipped over her bio, so I owe you dinner soon. I'm so sorry. Our next reader is Destiny O. Birdsong.
Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea Krieg is a wonderful writer, and I believe that you will connect with her words on a deeper level. I met her 14 years ago at Marge's Poetry Intensive on the Cape, and she has grown. I mean, she was like maybe 23 into such an incredible poet and strong woman, and I'm so happy to have her here. Chelsea Krieg was born and raised in southeastern Virginia. She received an MFA in poetry from North Carolina State University. Her work may be found or is forthcoming in terrain.org, Fairy Tale Review, Writing the Land, Virginia Anthology, Gulf Coast, New South, Tinderbox Poetry Journal, the Greensboro Review, and elsewhere. She lives in Durham, North Carolina, and teaches writing at North Carolina State University, where she is also acting director of the MFA program. Find out more at www.chelseakrieg.com.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm so grateful to be here and just feeling very heartened for everyone reading in an otherwise scary time. I'm just going to read one poem, Counseling Without Teeth. My grandmother used to say, dreaming your teeth fell out means you shouldn't have said that. A Southern lady should bite her tongue, keep quiet. But the heron has a dagger mouth, the hawk's beak hooked, a bee-eater's precise enough to tweeze a bee and loose its stinger. I am so tired of not saying. Without teeth, birds catch, rip open, and this is what it means to survive, sharp, swift, honest. After years of silence, I want to scream and hiss like a barn owl under the full moon. I want to be a nightjar and fly open-mouthed into the dark.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. I love your work. Thank you for being here. That reminded me, first of all, I'm so proud that you're using your voice. I've been thinking about my grandmother a lot lately. She grew up here in Alabama, and I remember when I was small, I came up to her and she had a I voted sticker on, and I said, "Who did you vote for?" And she said, "You don't talk about that. You don't tell people what you make or who you voted for." So I can't help but think of how things have changed since the 80s, I guess, and how she would probably be very proud of me tonight and very not proud of me talking about who I'm voting for. But you got to do what you got to do, huh? Our next poet is Destiny O. Birdsong. She is a writer whose debut poetry collection, Negotiations, was published by Tin House Books in October 2020. Her debut novel, Nobody's Magic, was published by Grand Central in 2022 and won the Willie Morris Award for Southern Fiction. She is a contributing editor for Poets and Writers. Destiny, I also have to tell you that every time I go to the library here, I take your book off the shelf and put it on the display thing. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for having me. And thank you to everyone who's read tonight. It's been great listening to you. And I'm just going to read one poem, which I actually wrote the day after the 2016 election. It's called Harambe for President, 2016 write-in ballot, and it was based on some rumors that people had written in the name of a gorilla who died earlier that same year. This poem also has a couple of references to another gorilla named Coco, who was taken from a San Francisco zoo in the late 1970s and lived out her life with a woman named Penny. So, Harambe for President, 2016 write-in ballot. Coco, whose name means firecracker child and whom her handler Penny called self-absorbed, would position a toy gorilla's hands with her teeth to sign drink. We are most ourselves in the water, says my swim coach. We only struggle to breathe when we remember that it can drown us. But if we can forget, we can move forward. A man I'd like to love tells me the same thing about our country when the election results come in and all of our imaginary children disappear. My fingers are smaller than Coco's, but still I'm bad at touch screens. I check the ballot twice before pressing vote. I don't want to do it wrong. And call me judgmental for hating every hand who wrote in the name of a beast. To them, I am living, but my survival isn't worth nearly as much effort. Yet we all take the sticker. We all brag of our civic duty, gliding home on a wave of solidarity that feels like kinship, which is what one Twitter troll quipped about the little Black boy who fell into Harambe's confused hands. He's just going to see his cousin anyway. What's the fuss? We're dragging each other through the moat, through the space separating human from feral. Coco never had babies because she never had a coven, no sister mothers to help her groom or forage for food, except for Penny, who taught her first betrayals, the signs for eat and browse, which was the lettuce she was chewing on when she picked out a mate she would never feel comfortable enough to let touch her. Not tenderly, not savagely, not the way the great apes mate, which I do not know because contrary to popular opinion, I am not one. There are many women whose cheeks and hands they press into mine. Sometimes they restart my breathing with their sounds. I may love Black women most because in our captivity, we hold each other. Coco liked to chew on the fists of her plastic babies, then lift one to her breast to suck. Had she been anywhere else, perhaps eating wild celery in Angola, she would have been dead years before, because to be confined on one continent is to be hunted on another. This is why Facebook tells me I can't move. Think of the amniotic coffin of the Aegean. Think of sterilized Ethiopians in Israel. Quiet as it's kept, had Coco not almost died and been rescued from a zoo overstocked with silverbacks and their harvested semen, she might have been Harambe's grieving mother. But chance and the votes of white women rule us all. This is, of course, America, its reddest records written in the name of their preservation. Coco's favorite signs were Coco Love and Coco Good. Even her toys could make the plea for water perfectly. She knew which one of us didn't have the luxury of making mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Destiny. That was an incredible poem. You're getting so much love in the chat as well. I'm so glad that you agreed to do the reading tonight, and thanks so much. We have such a cool, neat privilege of having over probably about half of the readers tonight being from red state poets who have a heart for what we believe is doing the right thing. And many of them are from Birmingham and from Nashville. Tonight, I would like to, and I'm very happy to introduce another poet representing the Magic City. I am so glad he agreed to read with us tonight. Jermaine Thompson was born in Louisville, Mississippi. Jermaine Thompson learned languages from big-armed women who greased their skillets with gossip and from full-bellied men who cursed and prayed with the same fervor. He's been writing poetry since he was 13 years old, inspired by having to memorize Langston Hughes's Harlem for a Black History program at his Presbyterian church home. Jermaine loves language for what it creates, what it destroys, for what binds in heaven and what it looses on earth. Jermaine is an educator who has publications in The Pinch, Memorious, Well Road Review, Southern Indiana Review, and New Letters. Welcome, Jermaine.
It's a joy to be here. A shovel for we who airbrush legacy on cotton, for we know our inheritance, and we know that we know that we know death better than our own backyards. We know it is eager and just as a thief in the night it comes, as black trash bag in a borrowed tomb it comes, like off-duty officer to Dallas apartment, it comes to the majorette and to the soldier. to the freshborn babe sleeping in a window-free back room, and to the shady man, slim as his swisher sweet. Just seen him outside Chinaman's, spotted him 10. He promised he'd pay you back on site next week. No bullshitting. He put that on everything. He put that on just enough to wet his beak. You watch the goodness of your heart turn to ash. You watch his tomb break the evening news. Parking post, point blank. Palm the sun mini still in his hand. Wonder what led death to wander so hungry off its porch. Wonder who let it get all the way to where he always be. Drunk, maybe, but not hurting nobody. How much dirt must we look like for death to love us so dear? I mean, we know where it stay at. I mean, have you called Pops? Put in your t-shirt order yet? Made ready for when thy summons comes, your headshot, sickle cell, sleep apnea, 7 a.m. on Highway 69 South. Death says, fuck your picture of health. So go ahead, get your t-shirt ready, order a lifetime supply. Don't put it on layaway. Give mama some options though. In memory of on do-rags and waist trainers and lace front wig stands, build a mortuary of fashion. We know where death stay. Preempt that pressure of best friend, picking out your favorite cotton poly blend, your good side, your favorite blue. Let them mourn like a pour of brown liquor off death's doorstep, because we've been there, we've done that, we got the t-shirts. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Jermaine. Thank you for being here and everything you do with your voice in Birmingham and all over. We appreciate you. So we have raised $3,013. Yay! You guys are amazing. Thank you for your generosity. Keep the donations coming. So our next reader is Catherine Perry. I also met Catherine at Marge Piercy's workshop, and we all connected. There were like 13 women in that group, and we still have a writing group to this day. I did not want to do this reading without her. I am so glad she said yes. Catherine Perry, or as I like to call her, Catherine the Great, is professor of English at Perimeter College of Georgia State University. She has a brand new chapbook published by Bottle Cap Press called Smaller Versions, and her first full-length collection of poetry, Long Alabama Summer, was released by Finishing Line Press in 2017. Her website is www.catherinedperry.com. Please welcome Catherine Perry.
Everybody. Yeah, so I'm going to read a new something that I did for this. We'll see how it goes. It's called We're Not Going Back. We're not going back to your island of gold-plated hate. We're certainly not going back to the fundamentalist burnings and stonings and shackles. We're not going back to your old texts that tell you to keep us out of the temples. And we're not going back to that other guy's battles, posting, I hate Taylor Swift, to attempt to cause a rift between women because he wants to destroy those who don't support him. In this country, men have been in power always, every hour of every year since we stole it from indigenous souls. This patriarchy works diligently, building banks and steeples to keep us out, no doubt, creating violence to keep us silent, preserving themselves to keep us serving. And of course, we participated like fools, even as we protested, dilated, and advocated.
I'm sorry.
We clung to the master's tools like security blankets and purity, while families and buildings and cities were destroyed with their punishing laws and whips and bombs. This never-ending cause is hatred. We pretended that repainting would reinforce the walls, or that flower pots would shore up the foundation. But I am tired of planting our bodies to fertilize their crops. I want love. I want care. I want truth and wisdom. I want change and an exchange of new ideas. I want hope. I want a new way forward. I want a kaleidoscope of people working to open wide doorways into better lives every day. I cannot go back, so I dissent. Let's dream a new team into existence. Let's elect the first woman president. Let's try and live and let live. Forgive ourselves and our ancestors. Dive headfirst into cleaning up poison pollutions. Give love and joy a chance at evolution. Venture into new solutions. Let's build on the promises written for us in the often discussed founding documents. Let's strengthen this house. Let's lengthen the table right now and for the next 7 generations. Are you ready for it?
That was so good, Catherine. Thank you for writing a new poem for this. And everybody's really loving the line, planting our bodies to fertilize their crops. You're incredible. I wanted to ask you a question, if that's cool. So I think you're probably our only reader tonight from Georgia, and we know that in the last election, Georgia was turned blue, and I've seen on the news lately that many people believe that it is key in Kamala Harris winning the election. What would you say to those that live in Georgia about the importance of their state, and also to people that maybe aren't going to vote because they think she's got it made in Georgia?
Well, I honestly doubt that people in Georgia think she's got it made. But I did hear that one rally that Trump had here where he really talked badly about our governor, who is a very conservative Republican, that after that rally that they said he lost Georgia. We'll see, you know, there's a lot of time between now and then, but there's hope here. We'll see.
Thank you. Our next reader is Penny Perry. Penny Perry is also an alum of Marge's Poetry Intensive. However, she has given me the greatest friendship connection by being mother poet to actual poet Ray Rose. Penny Perry is a 6-time Pushcart nominee, author of 2 poetry books, Santa Monica Disposal and Salvage and Women with Newspaper Shoes, both published by Garden Oak Press. Her poems have been published in Lips, Lilith, the Patterson Poetry Literary Review, the San Diego Poetry Annual, and many others. Perry was one of the first female fellows at the American Film Institute. Please welcome Penny Perry.
Hi. My mother indicts herself for murder. She paces again back and forth in the living room, light streaming from a street lamp, all 100 pounds of her worrying the rug, her Lady Macbeth nightgown flowing. I complained she was keeping me up. When I was 40, I found her letter, blaming herself for trusting the landlady that the doctor was safe. My mother made the appointment, promised to drive, chocolate milkshakes after the surgery. At the doctor's office, she couldn't stop her sister from insisting on ether, even though the graying man with a quick smile told them he had little experience with that drug. Maybe she should have argued more against taking that risk. But Leona, 9 years older, a successful writer, 2 plays on Broadway, and a baby waiting at home, overruled her then childless little sister. So my mother gave in, even agreeing to remain in the waiting room. Had she been beside her sister, she would have noticed the uneven breathing, the blood, the silence. So many ifs refusing to die, borne by my mother, back and forth across that rug that night, while her own daughter, safe in the dim light, fought to go to sleep.
Thank you so much, Penny. I've been wanting to hear you read live for so long, and I appreciate you using your bravery and your voice. That was an incredible poem.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for everybody that has recently come in, we most want you to find community here. We want you to feel connected, to find a poem that can be your friends during this time of change and chaos, and what we hope will become, joy and hope. But if you would like to donate, you can go to www.poetsforkamala.org, or you can click the link in the chat. Our next reader is Liliana Valenzuela. I met Liliana at a writing residency in Vermont. She is an amazing poet, and she blows my mind with her work as a translator of books by other poets. Liliana Valenzuela is the author of Codex of Love, Bendita Ternura, Flower Song Books, and Codex of Journeys, Bendito Camino. Her poetry has appeared in Edinburgh Review, Indiana Review, Tiger Tail, Huizac, Boardlands, Drunken Boat, and other publications in Mexico, Spain, Argentina, and the United States. An inaugural fellow of Canto Mundo and a longtime member of the Macondo Writers Workshop, Valenzuela is also the acclaimed Spanish language translator. She is a contributing podcaster at the Hablemos Escritoras podcast, a platform for contemporary women writers and translators of the Spanish-speaking world. www.hablamoscritoras.com. Born and raised in Mexico City, she lives and works in Austin, Texas. I told you how much I admired your ability to write in English and in Spanish, and I am so glad to hear you read, Liliana.
Thanks so much, Amanda. Thanks for this invitation, and great to hear all this really strong, inspiring work. So thanks, everyone. I'm also saying hi from the state of Texas by way of Mexico. And thanks for reading all those names in Spanish. I know I didn't realize I had so many in my bio. And I also wrote a poem on this topic. And it's called We Will Not Go Back. We will not go back. I tripped and fell on a rock when we were crossing the desert. I also cut my hand but didn't notice it for a while. Something wet dripping, rivulets down my elbow, that new moon in March. When I realized it was red, I tied a piece of cloth around it, put some salve on I was carrying. Y ya con eso, that did it. My wrist stopped bleeding, and I kept going. After crossing the river, when we were almost there, drones came out looking for us. A bunch of men and me, the only woman. We hid and waited. Then again, same thing, drones and patrols, until they stopped. Maybe it was lunchtime. Finally, we crossed. My knee still hurts, especially now that I'm expecting. The $300 shot at the clinic didn't work. $300. Some clinics wouldn't see me because I'm a mojada, but finally one in Bastrop did. Mama says, come back, child, I'll take care of you. But I'm already here. I'm bored, just waiting. Nadie con quien platicar, just cows and chickens around. My husband didn't want any more children. We already have 2 at home, boy and girl. I miss them. My boy turns 3 on Monday. The plan was for me to work, but I don't want to take a chance. Better to take care of myself and my baby. I don't speak English. It's hard. There, the baby just kicked. On Tuesday, I go for the ultrasound. Was it hard for you too when you crossed over? Thank you. And that was a persona poem told to me by someone I recently met. And, I just think we don't hear those voices and they don't get to vote. And, the falsehoods spread about them, about us, so I wanted to tell her story in her honor.
Oh, thank you, Liliana. That was beautiful and such an important poem. So good to hear you reading live again.
Yeah, it's so great to see you again too, Amanda.
Our next reader is Kelly Cass Falzone. I have to tell a little story about Kelly before she reads. When I was going to move to Nashville, my husband and I started dating. He's not good at surprises. He likes to tell everything. And so he decided to surprise me and take me on a date. And he drove me up to the Scarrett Bennett Center. And it was a poetry reading, Poet's Corner. And Kelly was reading. And I had my notebook out because at readings it makes me feel very creative, and I was just jotting down notes, and I was so nervous to go up to her afterward, and he was like, just go talk to her. And he did great. What I meant was that was the best surprise date he's ever done. And so and I went up to Kelly and I said, I'm gonna move to Nashville. How do I get involved in the writing community here? And she said, contact me when you get here and we'll have coffee. And true to her word, I don't know, it was like maybe 6 months later, I called her up and she met me at a coffee shop, and she took my notebook and she filled all the pages, and she said, go hear this person read, go meet this person, go to this open mic. And I have to tell you that a lot of the people at this reading I have life connections with because of Kelly Falzone. So I'm so thankful that she's here. Nashville writer, artist, and educator Kelly Cass Falzone received the B. Gonzalez Prize in Poetry, as well as awards from the Tennessee Writers Alliance and Chattanooga and Knoxville Writers Guild. She was writer-in-residence in the Gell Center of the Finger Lakes and recently completed her MFA at Spalding University in Louisville, Kentucky. Robert Peters of Small Press Review called her work original, unsparing, and brutal. Please welcome my friend Kelly Cass Falzone.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm very excited to be here. Thanks everyone for your inspiring work, and those of you who are listening. I have a quick note before I read this poem so you'll understand the context. This poem is dedicated to Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Elder was a 1st century Roman author, naturalist, and philosopher. And he compiled the encyclopedia called Naturalis Historia. And in that, he warned about the dangers of menstruating women. He claimed that coming into proximity with menstrual blood would cause wine to sour and trees to drop their fruit. It would make bronze and iron rust, turn knives and swords dull, and cause insects to swarm and bite. So this is my poem for Pliny the Younger and the other candidate. It's called Eggs. Each girl is born with all that she'll possess. 3 or 400,000 at last count. And each will launch about the same amount, 450, give or take a few. With all those eggs, what's a girl to do? Our God's the kind that offers far too much. Call them wasted, abundant, or enough. As each egg's shed, its promise will attest that though men warn and fear, women will thrive. Razors become blunt, bees leave the hive. Thanks so much.
I love that so much, Kelly. And also, thank you for all your encouragement this week. If you need a date night and you live in Nashville, you should go hear Kelly read. It's amazing. Our next reader is poet Jacqueline Allen Trimble. A great blessing I had from planning this reading was being able to attend other virtual readings that our poets were doing to get to know their work. That is where I discovered Jacqueline Trimble. I am so excited for her to read tonight. Jacqueline Allen Trimble is a National Endowment for the Arts Creative Writing Fellow and a graduate of Cave Canem Fellow. American Happiness, her debut collection, won the 2016 Balkans Poetry Prize, and her second collection, How to Survive the Apocalypse, was named one of the 10 best poetry books of 2022 by the NYPL. Please welcome Jacqueline.
Hey everybody, how are y'all doing? All right, thanks Amanda. So this poem is The Laws of Insurrectionists. Remember always, the Second Amendment is prettier than the first. Shoot or beat if there are too many witnesses, any protesters engaged in public displays of freedom, if what is being protested is contrary to your own thinking or the internet. Wear feathers and skins as a sign that anything you can kill can also be revered in retrospect, once it has been neutralized, assimilated, or removed to parts unknown. Call the cops on bird watchers, brown folks grilling hot dogs in public parks, and unwanted neighbors just because this is still a free country, and you can. Buy white vans and fertilizer, then blow everybody up. If somebody shoots elementary school children out of jealousy or dresses as a superhero and assaults sitting patrons in the movies, comfort yourself. What did I tell you to always remember? Hate abortion, no matter what, period. Say blue lives, all lives, my life, our lives. He's got the whole world in his hands. I don't see color or whatever, but never, ever say Black Lives Matter, lest you be thought a socialistic, unpatriotic, tree-hugging, American-hating fool. Don't be too intellectual. It's very unpatriotic and particularly unattractive in women. Champion at all costs public lynchings and executions, restrictive voting laws, the military, and prisons. In fact, sacrifice everything, education, healthcare, your own kind, to build more prisons as fast as humanly possible. You must take responsibility for your family's safety. Discredit science in favor of quackery and gut feelings. Lean into your own understanding of whatever you do not understand. Do not let your children learn critical race theory. Pilgrims settled America, George Washington's teeth were wooden. Manifest Destiny was about God's will for America from sea to shining sea. Those people from Africa were immigrants, period. Clean your guns on Wednesdays while listening to talk radio, and be sure to quote Martin Luther King Jr. to encourage nonviolence among those you might have to later shoot. When the popularity of your narrative fades, or there are too many commercials with interracial couples, or you suspect that the playing field is scheduled to get leveled next Friday, riot, riot, riot. Build gallows for your own who fail to follow these laws at all times and in all ways. And think of yourself as a patriotic tourist while you do. Forget that patriotism is a form of love, the deep, abiding kind that bears its breast in a crowded bus station, makes 4 plaits on one head, lies counting the vagaries of a lover's breathing as rosary, wears a mask, takes a bullet for kin and country, or loves one's neighbor as oneself. It is not that. Never, never that.
Thank you, Jacqueline. That was incredible. I'm so glad you said yes. I just want to go home and buy both your chapbooks right now. So I appreciate you being here. Oh, Brian Daly. Brian is a poet that I met during my time living and sharing poetry around Nashville. He has been an amazing friend. He is daring with his words, and he has been a great listener to me throughout the process of this great adventure of a reading, an event he lovingly called Kamala Fest. Brian Daly reads at open mics around Nashville. He self-published 7 chapbooks, most recently Billy Collins' Bookmark, and due out this month, The Armpit of Massachusetts. For a free copy, send your name and address to bgmedia@comcast.net. Please welcome my friend Brian Daly.
This is called Brainless Citizens Brigade. I'm cool with the idea an election can be stolen. Yup, some are. That's what banana republics are for. But you've had 3 years, 50 courts, and $50 million in cash money. Tiny billionaire, forked over by rubes you'd never spend 5 minutes with if they weren't kissing your ass. To turn over every rock, shake up every poll worker, menace secretaries of state, strong-arm crooked legislatures, recruit fake electors, trash your attorney general, litigate baseless complaints, trot out goofy mouthpieces while spewing your own bald lies in quest of finding fraud or finding help to create it. And what you got to show for it, bub? Nada. MAGA got nada. Nada. But fellow travelers panting to join the Brainless Citizens Brigade. What was that fat volume Dad kept atop the piano next to Mom's Bible? Yes, Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds by Charles somebody McKay. Hey, it's election day plus 1,200. How's it going, guys and gals? Getting any closer to the mother lode? Way past time to put up or shut up, dudes. As if. Talk to the hand, you freedom killing, country killing, dumbass patsies. What junior high you drop out of? Shame on y'all. Best be having fun in this life, because you ain't gonna like the next. Hold up. I take that back. What's got into me? Lots of you are smart. Many of you mean well. And some of you are my friends. So I want to help. Remember, there's very fine people on both sides. But poetry makes nothing happen. So let's try a different tack. Okay? Relax. When I snap my fingers, yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Brian. I hope you are loving the poems that are being read tonight and appreciating all these poets as much as I do. Please take a moment to donate at the link below or at our website, and thank you for your generosity. Our next poet is Dana Malone. Dana Malone has a love for music that shows through her poetry. She is a talented writer and a wonderful friend. She's from Nashville, Tennessee, is a member of the Appalachian Writers Workshop, and a teaching artist for the Porch Writers Collective. Her latest chapbook is Mother Grave Ghosts, published by Finishing Line Press, and she has a full-length poetry collection forthcoming from April Gloaming. Please welcome Dana Malone.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I have a reading from the book of Miriam. A reading from the book of Miriam. We bury burning bushes. Uganda looks like an underbelly, not the garden. Eve in a man's story looks like the one to blame, while in her own creates her own. Dixie crystals look like something frontmen lick off the bodies of backup singers instead of what flies off the shelves when children bake Thanksgiving pies for the women who taught them to conjure recipes. Hannah's prayer looks like a dress rehearsal for David instead of the first psalm, rendered with the believability of a bleeding throat. Mary Magdalene looks like a backstage whore instead of the first evangelist. Miriam, with her bulrush and invention, was stardom and not 20 feet from it. Know this, nothing set in stone would have been possible if not for Moses's older sister singing under a bushel. No, under a bushel, no.
I love that poem so much, Dana. Thank you for sharing. I cannot wait to read your new book when it comes out from April Gloaming Press. Thank you for being here. Our next reader and poet is Joseph Powell. He is a kind, generous poet whose poem I had a chance to preview and am in awe of his bravery and vulnerability. He is a writer and a spoken word artist and the author of 4 collections of poetry, including The Spirit of Baldwin Compels Me. His poems have been featured in various journals and magazines. He lives in Shelbyville, Tennessee with his wife Cindy and his dog Hendrix. Please welcome Joseph.
Thank you, Amanda. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Awesome. Thank you for this opportunity. This piece is called On Behalf of, and I dedicate it to my mother, Josephine. On behalf of a single mother, a Black woman just passed, who, though she lived 90 plus years, long enough to see a Black man rise to unforeseen heights, but not long enough to see another Black woman do the same, yet still raised 5 children, including the son who writes these words, who, if we tarry and refuse to go back, will see what she may not have even dreamed. On behalf of other single mothers and other Black women and brown women and white women and Latino women and Asian women and LGBTQ women and even childless cat ladies and dog ladies and ladies who may not even own pets or want children, but who are being told to and made to go back to a time of second-class status and having no choice and doing what they're told and having and not to be heard, let alone seen. But nevertheless, continue to persist and resist and insist on moving forward and pressing on and claiming what no man can give them or take away. On behalf of poets like the ones in this space and even the ones who couldn't make it but wanted to, and even the ones who didn't, of the weird people, yes, them too, and the misfits, and writers, and mystics, and heretics, and painters, and troubadours who teach us to see through different eyes. On behalf of those who look like me and those who don't, I'm sorry. of those who speak more languages than I ever will or even know, of those who just want an opportunity to just be who they are and love who they love and believe what they believe or not, without judgment or repercussions or limits. On behalf of children who just want to feel and should be safe, of those who want to and need to learn our history, all of it, warts and all, on behalf of our ancestors who didn't choose to come here, and those who did, who chose not to go back, like we who are choosing not to go back because we've seen and know what is possible. We've seen the promised land, and with the help of E pluribus unum, and behind this singular woman, this Black mother of two, this Jamaican, this Asian, this American woman, we will not go back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. That was an amazing poem, and you read it so amazingly.
Thank you.
I think that all of us would love to stand with you in celebrating your mom today through that poem. I know she would have loved it, and I thank you for reading it. Our next reader is Amanda Clark Rudolph. I have seen Amanda Clark Rudolph ride a unicycle, juggle, teach kids ecology, and be an amazing leader at living in community with others and caring for the environment. I am so blessed to call her a friend. She is a freelance writer and owner of Write on Freelancing. Her work has appeared in the Little Magazine, Twins Magazine, Newsbreak, the Litchfield Literary Review, LifeScopes, and more. She is the author of 4 poetry collections and has also contributed to numerous publications, including Curious and Illumination Curated, on her blog on Medium, where she now focuses on spiritual poetry. A homeschooling, bisexual, neurodivergent survivor mom of 2, she now dedicates her life work and poetry to advocating for inclusive communities based on tolerance, kindness, acceptance, and unconditional love. You can follow her at medium.com/@freemama about and or email her at clarksfreelancing@gmail.com. Please welcome Amanda.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I had to go back and forth on what I was going to read, but I settled on this poem, Lessons from Rivers, and I thought it fit with the theme because, well, rivers just go forward, and in the last 3 years, that's what I found is the best thing we can do. So this is called Lessons from Rivers. Growing up amid the creeks and mountains of Vermont, I have come to know a thing or two about rivers. I love the fact that rivers do not think. They do not fight themselves. They do not try to mold into something they are not destined to be. They do not plead. They do not beg. They do not analyze. They do not label. They just are. No, rivers just flow. I have learned Oh, sorry, I messed up. Rivers do not fear the bends, force trajectories, or go against their own currents. No, rivers just flow. I have learned so much from the simple nature of rivers, and when I place my bare feet within them, I feel free to be. It took me a while, but I try my best to avoid traveling upstream anymore, for I have learned that my energy is much better served when I walk with the current, not against it. I apply this principle to all aspects of my life. The infinite universe is composed of cycles after all. My evolving children join me on walks downstream now, even though I admit this wasn't always the case. Like I said, I have learned much from rivers, but these lessons didn't stick overnight. In fact, I accept that from rivers I will always be learning. I know that, like me, rivers were created for change. Sometimes I swear I hear my ancestors whispering between the flowing crevices of mossy rocks. Keep going, they say. Trust this path. Trust the meandering. We know it can be confusing, they echo, but the past, the present, the future, all are one and the same. In my experience, I have found that rivers do not lie. Although they may transform into that of a broader stream, an unexpected trajectory, a trail to a larger destination, rivers do not fight what is. Yes, one of the beauties about rivers I admire the most is that rivers just go with it. They detour when they need to, they flourish with the storms, they accept what is and not what is not, they do not blame. Rivers are brave, they do not fear, but adjust based on the rain, eroding borders, drying sun. I have found my direction becomes so much clearer when I attempt to live my life in accordance with the rivers and learn from others who aspire to do the same. After years of ingrained attempts to make the current my own, I finally figured out the absurdity of control. My energy deserves a higher purpose. I finally accept my future's uncertainty as well as the stability of the moment as is. However, unlike the rivers, I have to catch my thoughts continuously. Awareness is an ongoing process. I have to restart each day and provide myself with grace for the times when my flow may have gone astray. Although composed primarily of water, I'm still human after all. Still, I continue to treasure the solitude and lessons in rivers. A simple reminder in the grand scheme of things right now is really all any of us have. And for this presence, I am undeniably grateful. Thanks so much, Amanda, for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to read with us, and it was amazing to see you in person again. I loved your poem. Our next poet is Tina Moselle Brazil. She is the best example I've ever seen of living creatively daily and in everything you do. Tina Moselle Brazil won the Philip Levine Prize for Poetry for Known by Salt. She and her husband, writer James Brazil, co-wrote Glass Cabin about how they live and write in a glass cabin, and they are building it hand by hand in rural Alabama. Please welcome Tina.
Hi, everybody. So I wanted to read a poem about my grandmother that I was named after. Her name was Moselle. That's my middle name. And she actually took me into the voting booth, and I got to pull the lever for Jimmy Carter when I was a child, which was really cool. She was a lifelong Democrat because she said, I don't care what my preacher says. Republicans don't treat the poor like Christ would. Anyway, she also understood like the difficulties of getting a job that most women don't get. So this one's called Interview, 1966. Even in Burger King's dim office, grease festered, Moselle did not wave it away, striding past the fryer's crackling static. Through the swinging doors, she sat before the owner could stand. She did not take a cigarette from her purse or the pack he offered. When he asked, divorced, she nodded. She said she had done inventory and set schedules for the cooks and busboys at the steakhouse. Her ex-husband was now running alone. She smoothed her houndstooth suit, taking in how each check stepped from one square into another. When he pushed up his glasses and asked, So what then did your husband do there? Her smile straightened into a silent line. Sorry, I'm not hiring a woman. I'm not coming down here to change every light bulb. Moselle stood, stepped onto his desk, taking hold of the ceiling fixture. She unscrewed the bulb. He just stared, lips agape, ready to swallow that glass pear whole. He wouldn't dare look up her skirt. Does it matter that she got the job? Thank y'all.
I love that, Tina. That's such a great poem. Thank you for sharing, and you've been such an encouragement through this process. Thanks for being part of the night. Anne Markham Bailey is an amazing poet I met in Gadsden, Alabama, when I really needed a creative connection. She was teaching a workshop in an art museum. She teaches creative writing and book arts to incarcerated and post-incarcerated people in Alabama prison arts and education project with Auburn University. Anne is also a teaching artist with UAB Arts and Medicine and is a founding member of the Quorum Poets, a workshopping collective of Birmingham poets that hosts the Quorum Poet Presents, a monthly reading. Her most recent book is The Practice of Being, a pithy creative awareness practice guidebook. Anne is completing a new manuscript of poetry, The Conjugation of Winter. She is certified forest bathing nature therapy guide, passionate about connecting creative writing and deep listening with applied mindfulness practices in more than human world. To learn more and to check out her books, projects, and programs, please check out www.annemarkhambailey.com. Please welcome Anne.
Hey everybody, nice to be here with you all. So a Garuda is a mythic bird in Tibetan Buddhism that embodies the ferocious wisdom that is required to overcome ignorance and aggression. And this piece is titled Garuda. I stretch dense wings and rise to shriek across the soft valleys of your pelvic bowls. Brass bells shake, crystal bowls ring in fouled open skies, under floating archipelagos of swirling plastic bags, down clear-cut slopes, in newly dug canals feeding stinking lakes of pig shit. An unblemished wind arises and strokes the rushing choke of hate, the clenched, puckered heart. We are stardust all, luminous in space, unfolded season after season, a single cherry blossom beheld a brief time. We wail for our mother. We swell for her breasts. We accompany stars as we spin, splintered and blind, suckled by the rounds of the moon. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for sharing that poem and everything you do in Alabama for the arts. And I cannot wait to go forest bathing. I'm checking that out soon. I feel like we don't have a lot of young people, but did you know if you're 18 before November, you can register to vote? The cutoff in Alabama is October 21st. You can check the deadline to register in your state by going to whenweallvote.org. I learned that from Annie Potts' Instagram this week, and you should tell all the teenagers you know to go and vote because they are going to make the world a better place. Vascula Grant is a treasure and an inspiration. So glad she found us and that we get to listen to her words tonight. Reverend Grant has life connections to South Carolina, Texas, and Alaska. An ordained preacher, teacher, poet, writer, and transformational speaker, she believes in the power of words to inspire, encourage, hope, heal, change, challenge, and more. Grant thanks God for his amazing grace and his great gifts. Please welcome Vascula Grant.
Thank you, and thank you, Amanda, for allowing me to join at the end game. So the piece I chose to do is an excerpt from a bigger piece, but I chose the part that I thought worked best for where we are. So not too long ago, they were celebrating. They saw what they thought was weakness, rushed to declare their victory. They were salivating. But time is filled with swift transition, and an act of true patriotism put us all in a different position. And now they are desperate. Desperate because their backward plan for America is threatened. Their plan to take us back to a time when hate was a noose around America's neck and too many of us were choking. Back when we were sold into slavery and killed for the hell of it. Back when we were lynched and raped just for the thrill of it. Why Black bodies were burned so often it seems they were immune to the smell of it. Or maybe they were just amused by the smell of it. Ain't nobody going back to that. They're trying to regain their oppressive reign, but they didn't factor in this plot twist, didn't prepare for this paradigm shift. We didn't see it coming. A new day is dawning. The spirit of hope is contagious, like yawning. Blinded eyes are opening. Good news is getting around to the poor. Joy is spreading. Justice is rising. And while some are despising it, there is no denying it. Something is different, something significant. Those who've been excluded, labeled as other, and treated like nothing are starting to feel like they belong in America. They're starting to believe that they matter to America because they do. They and I and you too, we all sing America, but the beat is different. The lyrics to the song is different. The rhythm has shifted. Ours is a song of freedom. We saw it in our dreams and we hoped for it. We longed for it. And of course, we prayed for it. Some gave for it. Their very lives they gave for it, soaking the streets with their blood, sweat, and tears for it. They were sprayed with hoses and bitten by dogs for it. But they kept on fighting for it, kept on marching for it, kept on praying, kept on resisting, kept on insisting, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. That was freedom talking, and still she speaks. We've come too far to go back now, back to the chains that had us bound. I've come too far to lose what freedom gained for me. I'm free. Free to choose what's best for me, and free to believe in my sister's right to choose for whatever reason she chooses to choose what she chooses. I'm free to choose, and I choose love because love chose me. Because love came and died so I could be free, and I'll be damned if I let love die in vain for me. I'm free. Free to believe in the beauty of diversity, free to live, free to laugh, free to try, free to cry, free to rest in peace before I have to die, free to hope, free to care, free to dare to believe, free to reject hate so I can be free to breathe. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. You have such a powerful voice, and I am so glad that you're using it. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Leslie LaChance is a special poet and a gift to the Nashville community and to us tonight. She is a poet, essayist, and mixed media artist based in Nashville, Tennessee. She is a regular contributor to the Nashvillian magazine and has published poems in several literary journals. Leslie believes in the power of stories and poems to transform us and through us our world. Welcome, Leslie.
Hi, thank you all. And thank you, Amanda, for organizing this. I'm so grateful for you and for all the poets in our Zoom tonight. This has been transformative. Like so many people in America, including Kamala Harris, I come from a family of 20th century immigrants, dreamers, if you will. And sadly, we are confronted with another presidential candidate and his VP nominee who pour gasoline on the fire of immigrant hatred. And I want to speak to that, to say we can't go back to a president or elect a vice president who spews such hate toward immigrants, especially immigrants of color, each time his mouth is open. But I can't write or speak about immigration and my ancestors without acknowledging the people who were living on these American continents here before colonialism, before modern migrations began. And so I say to you that I reside on the territory of Tanasi, which is the original lands of the Cherokee and Shawnee people who were forcibly removed to lands in Oklahoma by an imperialist power. And likewise, we must acknowledge the people whose ancestors did not arrive in this hemisphere by choice and who were stolen from another continent and enslaved. So this is Diaspora Dream Home. And I started this on the day that Vice President Harris was speaking in Savannah. And I didn't know she was speaking in Savannah on that day, but I was right down the road in coastal Georgia. That's for Dream Home. One American morning begins in roses and unshucked corn at water's edge on a Georgia sea island. Orange, yellow, pink, white, long-stemmed blooms, thorns, and one ear of corn repeated, a pattern. 100-yard dash of flower and vegetable cast on water by Africa's daughters, ritual I almost recognize in rising tide. This America, a highway from A to Z, palm to pine, billboard to blank space, desolate, dirty, expansive, mean, a beauty. From fire-scarred forests to Gulf Stream storms to concrete metro canyons, teeming with food trucks and talent. Sea to shining sea, stolen by monstrous white heads carved from sacred hills, nations built on indigenous backs and stolen people, great migrations nesting inside migrations, brown and black, Euro-Asian, whole continents, whole world streaming in diaspora. Lady Liberty, I saw you first from a ferry boat on a school field trip. My grandmother saw you from the boat full of poor Italians. So many ancestors, so many boats and chains. America, who makes what their own? Is it only when we die here, leave behind our labor, teeth and bones, that we get to call it home?
Thank you so much, Leslie, for being here and for reading. That was an incredibly important poem, and it was amazing. Thank you for sharing. So we're winding down. I think we have 3 to 4 more poets, but tonight is not where our motivation for poetry and Kamala Harris's campaign ends. If you've been inspired tonight or feel led to write a poem on the theme "We're Not Going Back" that would be encouraging to the Harris Walz campaign, please submit through poetsforkamala@gmail.com or make a short video of why this election is important to you and share a poem. We will continue to encourage the campaign on our socials and our website throughout until Election Day. So please give through words or through donation at www.poetsforkamala.org. Our next reader is Chance Chambers. I like to say he is the poet's poet. He is a kind and encouraging artist, and like me, he was a Nashville poet that is now relocated to Birmingham. Chance Chambers lives in Birmingham, Alabama with his beautiful wife Jennifer and 7 cats. His poetry and fiction have appeared in Perfume River Poetry Review, #1, a literary journal, Sobotaka Literary Magazine, Swing, Sinew, 10 Years of Poetry in the Brew, and Muscadine Lines, a Southern anthology. Please welcome Chance Chambers.
Thank you, Amanda. It's amazing to be here tonight with so many strong, powerful voices and hearts in the same place. And thank you for all your hard work, Amanda, putting this together. It's about to be 8 cats, by the way. And I just want to share this shirt that my wife got me. I don't know if you can see that. It's Cat Dad for Kamala. So yeah, thank you everyone for all your words and your heart. This is called Smaller. Let's meet again at the Midtown Labyrinth, where in 2016 we missed a post-election vigil by a few minutes or a few yards, where we stood with 2 young Black men, a musician and an artist, and hugged and wept and spoke little of coming days. I couldn't truly know how it was in that moment for those young men or for you. I could only be there. It wasn't enough. Let's meet and talk about how things seem smaller when left behind until time folds over on itself. Moments touching across years, flipped like a bullet-ridden classroom desk. September 15th, 1963 and June 17th, 2015. Connecticut, 1821 and June 24th, 2022. August 28th, 1955 and May 25th, 2020. August 2nd, 1934 and November 8th, 2016. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear, and the road winds like a midtown labyrinth, and the road is cluttered with conspiracy earrings, white Jesus, and gas price memes. And the road is lined with the people we try to carry in our hearts despite all of this, despite their surrender to a soul-turned septic who reaches out with trickster's hands. They don't really see him or don't want to, or do but don't care when he wraps those same hands around the necks of anyone who doesn't worship the same, look the same, or love the same. Still, we won't turn back. We'll keep walking, climbing, hoping, until we emerge from a tear gas fog, pick up a discarded photo op Bible, and turn the pages to a parable about a withered man relegated to a formica and vinyl corner of the universe to reign over nothing but ketchup bottles and creamer packets. A faded man no longer part of the conversation, except when we tell each other, he looks smaller than I remember. Thanks for asking me to be a part of this.
Thank you so much, Chance. I love that poem. You're so
Thank you.
talented. Thanks for being here. And thanks for being an Alabama poet with me. We have heard Tim Walz repeat this statement at several events he's spoken at. Never underestimate a public school teacher. I am so happy for Jared Morningstar's excitement and joy in the relation to this campaign and in sharing poetry. He just has a hopeful, joyful spirit. Before he reads, I would love for you to take a second and think of a special teacher that is or was important to you on your journey. I know my 6th grade literature teacher, Miss Grissett, she made us write a poetry book every year, and it really stuck with me. So while he's reading, I would love for you to do that. Jared Morningstar is a high school English teacher, adjunct English professor, and a commissioned Kentucky colonel. He writes about his interests and observations of the world around him and has written for 4 collections of poetry and prose. Morningstar lives in Michigan with his wife and children. Please welcome Jared.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And thank you, everybody. I just want to say a couple of very quick things. First of all, I am in awe in absolute awe of all of you. Thank you so, so much for sharing your words and your hearts. It's been a wonderful, wonderful night. And I also want to thank Amanda and this movement, this event, because after the publication of my last collection in August, I've been in a major writing slump. And it was this event that broke me out of it. This poem was one that I wrote just a few days ago, and I'm happy to share it all with you right now. Thank you all so much. The poem is appropriately titled, We're Not Going Back. We're not going back. Not to the time when Ruby Bridges was flanked by federal marshals into a segregated school who protected the 6-year-old girl from the violent stares and screams of the all-white crowd. When little Ruby was forced to suffer their threats of beatings and bombings while learning how to read, to write, how to be a better American than those who echoed the bigoted beliefs of white supremacy, while her family prayed that they had made the right, selfless choice, knowing what harm their child could face in the name of progress. To the days of don't ask, don't tell, when folks were shamed or worse, if they let their true selves out of closets, knowing their identities would never be embraced by the homophobia, transphobia held in the hearts of those who did not understand that who we love is not dependent on another's anatomy, that no one fits perfectly within two society-generated genders. Those who are somehow afraid that the God who they claim preached acceptance and love would damn them for following in his footsteps. To the not so distant past when it was normalized that women were introduced as Mrs. Husband's first and last name, or whispered about as failed old maids, not good enough for a man to claim as his prize to cook, clean, and raise babies. To when women couldn't vote, when they were demonized if they tried, or when they weren't allowed to make financial decisions, have their own checking accounts, granted equal pay for equal work and employment opportunity, and certainly weren't given the right to their own bodies, denied by pro-lifers who wanted to control theirs. And to when children were raised to believe in a perfect nation, looking upon the stars and stripes with romanticism spangled in their eyes, that separate but equal could be a reality, that one could be superior to another based on the color of their skin, that those who loved differently were somehow an abomination in the eyes of their own creator, that women were too emotional to be trusted with the power to lead, to have their voices heard, to have the opportunity to right the wrongs of the men who oppressed them, failed them, along with the country they claim to love. The America they deem great, the America they wish to return? Hell no, hell never again. We're not going back. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared, so much for your enthusiasm for this event and how joyful you've been throughout. I'm so glad. It's so hard when you're in a writing slump, and I'm glad that you got to write something new. And I know I would have loved to be in your English class, so thank you for being with us tonight. Our next poet is Laura Secord. She is a treasured poet in Birmingham, Alabama, a storyteller and a teaching artist. Her novel, In Poems, An Art, a Craft, a Mystery, was awarded the 2024 Authors Award for Poetry by Alabama Library Association. Her poems appear in Poetry and many other journals. She serves as Director of Community Engagement for the Magic City Poetry Festival. Please welcome Laura.
Get myself unmuted. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to thank Amanda so much for including me at the last minute. And I just want to mention that next Thursday, a week from tonight, if you live in Birmingham, we're having a Poets for Kamala event at the Lumbar. And Amanda is going to be there, as well as many of the other people that are reading tonight. Jermaine, Salem, Ashley Jones, and many other great poets. So I just want to say that before I started. This night has been so moving to me, and I decided that I would read a poem for all of y'all, okay? And for all of us that are poets and activists. And this is called For the Poet Activist. Justice, resistance. The struggle is complex. There's more than one way to induce the flood of righteousness to quake. Yes, there's the march and the signs and the chants we've reshaped for this momentous fight. But there's also a slow seep, which can drip like water, eroding stony minds, breaking hearts open. Feeling ghosted? Try speaking to ghosts, the abused and neglected, the suffering. Listen to spirits till they grow fit for sharing their stories. Their anguish may choke you. Still ask them, what do you need? Witness, then give them ink, paper, and soak in their tales. Become touchable. Enter their hearts like smoke, alter vision, transform opinions, and raise the dead. Women's lives, lost lives, past lives, glorious ordinary lives might turn the tide. Come, do what weapons cannot. With stories told and art's creation, change can unfold. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Laura. I've been wanting to hear you read live for a long time, and I am so excited that you're planning this in-person event next week. So whoever's in Birmingham and can come out on the 26th, we'd love to have you.
I can put a flyer in the chat.
Okay. So our next poet is incredible. She wanted to be here tonight. And she actually, her dates changed. She is working on opening a bookshop that will also be a bar in Nashville. It's going to be amazing. And they had a pop-up tonight. You're going to love this poem. Tiana Rouse is a gift of wisdom, talent, creativity, and the desire to put love into the world as much as she can while she walks on this earth. I am so glad to have had her advice and friendship during this process. She is working on opening her own bookshop so that she couldn't be here in person, but we are still blessed to have her via video. Her chapbook is Vanta Black, and it is through Third Man Records Publishing. Please enjoy this video.
Hello. Thank you, Amanda, for curating such an incredible and thoughtful and grace-filled evening, bringing together all of these voices who are determined to go forward and not go back, who all believe that a Harris Walz ticket is our chance, the possibility of creating the world that we want to see, that curates joy and beauty and a new way forward, and instead of the ways that we continue to curate destroying one another, both in our nation and in other parts of the world. I believe that our only possibility of that is with a Harris Walz ticket. I'm reading a poem that I actually wrote in 2016, so I am going back a little bit. It was written on election day, and it's unfortunately still relevant today, but I believe a Harris Walz ticket might change the tune. It's called America's Place to Eat. This is the Waffle House. The gray puddle on the floor behind the counter, the chime of the tapping fork, when the server occasionally steps on its teeth in her hospital shoes, the soaked towels no longer white, crumpled and tucked under the chrome sink basin, and the garnet witness of ketchup gone wild. It should all disgust me, probably. But the Waffle House is this. The dreadlocked man tucks his dress tie between the window of two buttons of his shirt. The man beside him, not with him, lifts his MAGA hat every once in a while to wipe his brow. It's not hot in here. The woman with her hair coiled into tiny fists, pulled into a bun, has a hole in her smile. A teenager with Down syndrome orders just a bit too loudly, and nobody stares. A family of 5 walks in. We're all actually thinking about what everyone else is thinking of us, which is to say, all we do is think of ourselves. Maybe it should disgust us. On this election day, America as fragile as that mug just before its apparent suicide. Or was it murder? I am not a witness. It happened before I arrived, but a woman whose yellow badge says Melissa just now finally scrapes its pieces into a long-handled dustpan. The Tabasco and Heinz 57 and Pace Picante stacked in the cubby are obedient soldiers falling in line. Fall. That's different from the season outside, different from descending into sin, not the same as Rome in shambles. Finished, yells the teenager, and we all watch this time. We watch him slide his plate to the Formica counter's edge. It squeals. If it falls, how quickly will Melissa and the broom take care of those syrupy, buttery shards? I consider being disgusted as this cup who meets more mouths than I could ever kiss lifts to my lips, but instead I nod yes when Sue asks if I want more coffee. I prefer tea, Earl Grey, but America's Place to Eat deals only in a few preferences, scattered, slithered, covered, chunked, diced, like they serve up murder at the Waffle House. I close my eyes and say grace, which feels right today. Are we all disgusted? Is that why we've come here together, to be disgusted, to eat comfort food that poisons our gut? Are we all here wondering if tomorrow we'll know how to smile at our neighbors? Which is to say, how will we ever go back to ignoring all the grime in this place? How will we move again without stepping on all the debris?
I'm thankful for Tiana. I love that poem, and I cannot wait till she gets her bookstore open. So I just want to thank everyone for their generosity tonight, for all of you who have stayed and listened to these amazing poets. At this time, I want to invite Ray Rose back to end the reading with an incredible poem. I don't think we could sign off without her sharing with you.
And I just want to say, you did it, Amanda. You did it. We all loved it. We all loved it. It was great. Welcome to your revolution. I wrote you a poem for your revolution. I am unfurling your banners. I am shushing the audience. I am beginning. Welcome to your revolution. To the morning you have woken up with starlight in your hair. The morning you do not take waking up for granted. You whisper, aha, and thank you. Welcome to your revolution. You give up on ad campaigns and the kind of beauty they promise. You feed your belly what it needs, wear what feels good, trade in your shoe tree for redwoods. You stop hunting your flaws in the mirror and start searching for warblers and tree limbs. Small, yellowish, brownish, grayish, welcome to your revolution, where you love the people who love you back. You throw out fear like an old pair of scissors, worn out, rusty. Every time you try to use them, you just hurt your hands. On this day of your revolution, you say, fear has got to go. And now, death can't win. Now everybody looks about the same. Now illness is a journey. Now you drop any weapon, Face life with open hands. You do not fear loneliness or blindness because every poem you have read swirls around you like tufts of dandelion. Welcome to your revolution. You stop rattling off your past mistakes and start memorizing the planetary system. Beatles on vinyl, that is, on the day of your revolution, you step out of your old self, like you step out of an old raincoat. You step out of that old way into your life. Welcome. Welcome to your revolution. And you guys all inspired me tonight, so thank you so much.
Thank you for being here with us tonight. You will never know the depth of my gratitude for you. Thank you to all the poets who have shared their words, given their time, to my friend Dan, who has helped with the technical aspects of the virtual reading, to my mom and my husband that are watching my kids sick tonight so I could be here. As we sign off, I would like to share this. I have a beautiful, life-giving poet friend who believes greatly that poems are friends to us. In Fiona Bennett's, founder of the Poetry Exchange Poem as Friends anthology, she opens with a quote from Adrienne Rich. Someone writing a poem believes that an I can become a we, that a partly common language exists to which strangers can bring their own heartbeat, memories, and images. I hope that tonight you felt that you fit with us, that you found community here, that you found a new friend in a poem that was shared, and you were inspired to help Kamala Harris become the next president of the United States, to do something. That you were reminded that one idea from someone's heart, one idea to help, to do good, can turn into something much more. Thank you so much for being here, and good night. I'm gonna wait till
You're still off mute.
we did it, you guys. Thank you so very much. I'm so excited. I cannot even believe this was a reality.
You did so good.
Great.
You did so good, Amanda.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
You guys were amazing. I loved all your poems. I'm so excited you wanted to be a part of this. Thanks for making my dream come true. So.
Know what the final number was?
$3,173 plus my 100, so that's exciting. We'll continue to post and up until election people's poems and give them the opportunity to give on the website, so I'm excited. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Amanda.
Oh,
Couldn't
you're
be
welcome.